On his debut, Jarno Uppbeat wins at Spa.
It's Martinez in Montreal. David beats Goliath.
It's a true underdog story. John Evans wins at Mexico.
And it's Super Sam Corby who takes the PlayStation Championship.
FRA Ronhard takes his first WOR Championship. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jake Benham is a two-time WOR champion.
Stop it! Around the outside operated line shut out his contact again. Ronhard is around.
Melanie, surely is going to win here at Abu Dhabi. He does.
16 races across 5 continents. From Brazil to Belgium and Bahrain to Britain. Soon this story starts. Across 3 platforms, hundreds will begin the quest. The quest in search of glory and the right to be called a WOR champion. Lights out, and we're racing in Season 12. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to round number 10 of the WOR PC F1 season. And we've arrived in Portugal for what should be another thrilling instalment of this exciting year. I'm Ginger Andy, I'm back once again, and I'm joined by Dan Field for this one. Dan, should be a cracker as we get towards the nitty-gritty of this exciting season.
Absolutely, we're getting towards the business end here where Nicholas Longe is beginning to stretch his lead. It is also very lovely to be back with you in the commentary box, Andy. It's been quite some time whilst you were off enjoying sunny Australia. You know, I was stuck here in England, but now we've got the same kind of weather, so really happy that we can be in the same boat here for this brilliant race.
Yeah, I've not come back with an Australian accent, thankfully. You've still got the Scottish accent, folks, as we get ready for a thrilling race tonight. And Dan, big story going into it tonight. Brendan Lee makes his WOR debut. That's very exciting. A former esports world champion, 2-time champion, making his debut tonight in this tier.
Yeah, absolutely. Brendan Lee, one of the longest tenures in F1 esports history, of course, winning the first 2 seasons back in 2017 and 2018, of course. His first title, he fought with Fabrizio Donoso, who's also on the grid today. So it's going to be lovely to see how those 2 veterans of F1 esports can come together and fight with some of the young guns of the future.
Yeah, 2 veterans collide tonight here in WOR against the young guns, as you say, Dan. Let's take a look then at the driver's standings. You mentioned them very briefly. And Nicholas Longe, indeed stretching a little bit of a lead now. Not massive, but it is a 12-point advantage the Frenchman holds over the Spaniard Alvaro Carraton on 96. Tomek Perazis is third in the standings with 80 points, with Shinaka Clay in 4th on 75. Jake Benham, he's on 70 and 5th in the standings, with Luke Smith right behind him on 68. Thomas Ronhard, the winner last time out in Mexico, is next with Sam Corby on 39. Barry Buremand on 38 and Stachulek on 37. But you've got to say, Dan, anyone from Thomas Ronhard upwards has got a chance at this championship still.
Yeah. Absolutely, it is still anyone's game at the moment. It is worth mentioning that Alvaro Carraton, unfortunately, he's been sick recently, so he's not going to be competing today, which gives Nicholas Longe the chance to extend his championship lead without really any pressure from one of his main rivals in behind. It also gives the likes of Tomek and Shinaka a chance to catch up to the Spaniard. Hopefully we can get Alvaro Carraton back on the grid next week and he can continue his championship campaign. But for the other drivers, it's going to be the best opportunity they got. Yeah,
very, very exciting the way things are beginning to shape up now in this championship. Getting very, very close. A shame about Carraton, as you say. Longe, though, with the foothold in the championship battle at the minute. Let's see how things work out as we head to this Portugal circuit tonight. And I can tell you, folks, before we jump in, we are expecting some very interesting weather conditions. I mean, I've heard recently that PSGL, removed wet weather from their sessions. We do not have that situation here in WR. We still have the excitement, the drama of the mixed conditions, and that is really going to make things very, very interesting indeed. But before we jump into that, let's have a quick look at one of our sponsors here tonight, and that is Grid Rival. Be sure to get yourselves on the grid. Racing has never been this fun. Grid Rival are sponsoring WR for the rest of Season 12. Delighted to announce our second partnership this season, and it's an opportunity for to make your favourite motor sports series more exciting, more engaging and more social through a fantasy app. Search for WOR, World Online Racing, on the Grid Rival and compete against the community with a £25 prize pot. For every 50 members that join, we will add another £25 to the prize pool. Fantasy League, battling it out with all your rivals to see who will come out on top. Be sure to check that one out. But without further ado, let's jump into the action. We are here, and this is the weather conditions we're going to see in a few moments' time that we are left with here today for what will be a thrilling race here in Portugal. Full wet conditions, I think. No, maybe not. Few out on inters, few in the pits on the wet stand. Treacherous conditions to open up this Grand Prix.
Absolutely. We're seeing the first two cars out on circuit. They're both Aston Martins, the lead one being Thomas Ronha, of course, winner of the last race in WR in Mexico. He's got all the momentum in this series and he's looking to carry that out early on into this race. So we'll see how he gets on. You'll see how he's driving a bit tentatively on his outlap here. Of course, you don't want to spin the car on your outlap, it's always a bit embarrassing. He's just coming up Samsung corner now, very tricky even in the dry, so it'll be interesting to see how they actually get on in the wet weather and whether we'll see any spinners down there. And I think even with this caliber of a grid, we are going to see some incidents down there.
Yeah, I'm sure we will, Dan. It's a really, really exciting racetrack, this. Very new to the Formula 1 calendar, obviously with the COVID situation. It joined the calendar. And I think it's actually not on the actual Formula 1 calendar in real life this year, but it's been a real exciting addition to the games. It's been one that the esports drivers have really taken to, and it's been really good for these league races as well. Some tracks we don't often get for league racing, the likes of Singapore, Monaco, maybe not as favourable, but this one really is a cracker. It allows for some great racing out there, doesn't it? Down into turn one, and throughout that first and second sector, Dan, you can get some real wheel-to-wheel combat, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very lovely circuit. Of course, we came here last season in WOR. Pole position was taken by Shanaka Clay with a 1 minute 15.3. I wonder in these conditions if anyone's going to get anywhere close to that. And Jan Ortmir ended up winning that race. I've just seen for Thomas Ronha, might have been impeded ever so slightly by Brendan Lee, who came out in front of him just in towards turn number 2. Ronha looks like he's continuing on his lap here, and he's not invalidated, so it's looking quite nice through the second sector. But I'd imagine the Ferrari making his debut in WR is not going to be too helpful for the Aston Martin.
Yeah, maybe not the most ideal, but thankfully it is early on in this session, and there will be plenty of time to improve. And as we usually see when there's a little bit of rain out there, the drivers tend to put a little bit more fuel into the car and try and run for longer and longer and do consecutive laps. And so maybe Ronha will continue after this one. We'll see, as he's gone purple, which is unsurprising given he's the only man not on a lap at the minute, or the first man through the timing beam, I should say. Going to come round these final couple of corners now and just gingerly edge his way out towards the edge of the racetrack, feathering the throttle as if he's got an egg underneath his right front pedal, which he doesn't want to break. And Ronha crosses the line now, first time on the board, and it will be a 1 minute 25.6 that the rest have got to aim for. But let's pick up Brendan Lee then on debut here tonight in WR. Great to have him here, Dan. The number 2 sported on that Ferrari as he goes attacking on his first flying lap, as the other Aston Martin of McClasic goes a second and a bit slower than Thomas Ronha.
Yeah, McClasic not going to be too pleased with that lap. Maybe that also says something about Thomas Ronha being very impressive on his run. Here comes Brendan Lee downhill into towards Torre Vip. Really easy to lock up through here. It's very unforgiving on the brakes, and Brendan Lee has certainly done that, but he's managed to make the corner and off the exit. He's looking quite neat and tidy in towards now the double right-hander of turn number 7 and 8. The uphill right-hander Luke Smith has gone 2/10 clear of Thomas Ronha at the top of the order, and Barry Burman stretches that advantage by a further 2/10 with a 1 minute 25.2. Brendan Lee, though, continuing on this lap. He's got a Haas car just in front of him. That's very wide in towards turn number 11. And I think he's missed his apex there. Brendan Lee not looking too confident on this run in towards now turn number 13, the hairpin left-hander. And now we've just got one more braking zone to go off Sagres. And you'll see how he's going to open up the steering wheel now to go foot flat to the floor. Might need a slight lift in towards Galp because it's very tricky to lose the car through here. As off the exit of the corner now, we'll see what Brendan Lee can do. He's got a 25.2 to beat. He's going to cross the line to set a 1 minute 25.5. That's going to put him in third position here.
Yeah, decent time from Brendan Lee, given he was a bit out of shape and a little bit wide up at turn 11. So, yeah, decent effort there, and he goes third quickest, but Barry Burneman really is arguably the fastest qualifier on this game. Even Jarno Opmeer would maybe say that Barry Burneman maybe over one lap was maybe been quicker over the game. Hard to say. They're very, very evenly matched over one lap. We've seen that throughout PSGL and just Barry Burneman's pace in WR at times this season. Longay's gone second over the line in the Alfa Romeo, just half a tenth down on what Barry Burneman has done. Let's see how Shinaka Clay's getting on out there. And I've got to say, he's going very, very quickly indeed. 3/10 quicker than what I've seen from Brendan Lee through the middle sector, and he's 3/10 down on the top time from Burneman. So this could be, if he can sew it all together, the quickest time so far from Shinaka Clay. Still getting used to seeing this man out of the Aston Martin green and into the blue of Williams, but I'm sure we'll get used to it soon as he really pushes hard downhill through the right-hander, taking a lot of curb. The back end wanted to step out on him. It's brave from Clay, but it's not enough to go quickest of all. He goes third, 1 minute 25.3, 9.3 from him. What about Reuben Pedreno, the Spaniard out there? But unfortunately, at the minute, he's on an invalidated lap, so he'll stay at the bottom of the timing screens for now. Now, we spoke about Fabrizio Donoso, another driver like Brendan Lee that's been about for a long, long time, right since the very start of the F1 Esports Series, mixing it with some of these younger, less experienced drivers. How's he getting on? As Thomas Ronhaar goes quickest of all. Donoso across the line. He's not on a quick lap. It's only a 33.5 and he's 15th. But Ronhaar continuing that fine form from 2 weeks ago, Dan.
It's a very impressive run from Thomas Ronhaar. I was watching one of his live streams just earlier on today when he set, I think, a 1 minute 15.2 or something, which is a tenth quicker than last season's pole time from Clay. But of course, in the dry, that's not really going to matter here. But it seems Thomas Ronhaar is very competitive in both the dry and the wet weather conditions. And he's gone just under a tenth clear of Barry Burneman. I'd imagine that the Iranian is going to respond very soon. It seems like a lot of these guys on cool-down laps at the moment. And I believe Carter Lundy is actually on a push lap at the moment, and he's just under 2/10 up on his previous best in his AlphaTauri. So it's looking quite nice on his run at the moment. Currently in P8, he's got Iker Baena's McLaren in front of him, so we'll hope that the Spaniard does not impede him all too much. There's a slight bit of a slide off the exit of Sagres corner through Galp now for Carter Lundy. We'll see what he can do. Currently P8 with a 1 minute 25.7. He's going to cross the line here. He finds an improvement, but it's not enough to beat Liam Parnell. He's still up by about a tenth, though, so nice stuff from Carter Lundy.
Yeah, he builds a little bit of a cushion to the man in 9th place, McClassics. 3/10 now as another time pops in. That's Reuben Pedreno finally getting a time on the board, and it's a strong one. 25.275 from him as Donoso now goes quickest of all. 125.141. The man who spent much of the opening few months of the year in Chile on holiday, finally getting back up to speed, and he's not hanging about here in Portugal. P1, 125.1. As we watch Tomic Paragis now, the man who's on top in Challengers, now beginning to make his way towards the end of the lap. No time set from him as Longay now smashes them all by half a second. The Frenchman, the championship leader, with a 124.6. Here comes Paragis to the line. What's his opening effort? It's a 25.4. He goes 7th, but wowee, Nicholas Longay, that is some time. Half a second clear of Donoso in second.
Very impressive from Nicholas Longay. He's pulled that one completely out of the bag there. I'm not too sure if anyone's on a time quick enough to actually compete with that at the moment. Reuben Pedreno, he's not pushing at the moment. I believe Tomic Paragis has gone for a back-to-back run here because he seemingly is pushing at the moment, and he is about a tenth and a quarter up on his previous best, but he's catching traffic in towards Torre Vip. Hopefully both Nicholas Longay and I think Carter Lundy, it could be Louis Welch as well, getting out of the way very nicely indeed. So he's not going to be impeding the Polish driver who absolutely dominated here in Challengers Series. Of course, the PC Challengers champion, and I would not be surprised if he does not, I would be surprised actually if he doesn't secure a F1 esports seat next season. So we got to watch out for Tomic Paragis. He's even though he's only 16 years old, he is a huge veteran in the league racing scene. He's been racing for years, and now he's finally getting his opportunity, and he's looking very tidy on this run at the moment. And we'll see what he can do as out of Sagres' corner. We'll see the Mercedes car coming out now. He got a podium last time in Mexico. We'll see how he can fare in Q1 as he rises over the crest to cross the line now. Is it going to be quicker than Longuet? It's the second time into the 1 minute 24s, but it's not enough to top the Frenchman. But still an impressive lap there from the Polish driver.
Yeah, good effort there from the Polish man to go second, but that time from Longuet looking like a real tall order for drivers to topple. Barry Buneman, though, is out there, and he will, in a minute, be on course to jump into the 24s. Will it be enough to go into the mid-24s, as we've seen from Longuet? That's the next question as he comes round the final couple of corners through Sagres now and into the final turn in a minute, which of course is turn number 15. So here comes Barry Buneman now, sweeping down the hill, hugging the inside, making the shortest run possible towards the line. Here comes Buneman. What's it going to be? It's going to be P2, a 124.8. And the more drivers struggle to get near Longuet, the more impressive that time begins to look from the Frenchman. 124.686. No one at the minute within a tenth and a half of that superb effort from him at the minute. Will anyone out there be able to do that now, though? I think McClasic is on a lap. No, he's not on a lap. I thought he might have been. Who is on one? Is Brendan Lee on one? I think he is. Yes, here he is in the Ferrari on debut here in WR tonight, pushing hard as he makes his way into the penultimate and final turn. What can Brendan Lee do? Can he get anywhere near the likes of Longuet, Barry Buneman and Perazes? Can he join that club in the 1 minute 24s at the minute? We've got 6 minutes to go in Q1. Here comes Brendan Lee to the line now. Looks pretty good. Not quite enough to get into the 24s, but it's enough to be safe and sound in 4th place with a 125.082, Dan.
You're right about the failed attempts to overtake Nicolas Longuet, making that lap seem even more impressive. He's out-qualifying one of the fastest qualifiers on the grid at the moment, Barry Buneman, by a comfortable 10th.5 margin. So he's looking really strong at the moment. Brendan Lee, he was able to improve his time, but again, nowhere near. He was 4 tenths off of the back of the Frenchman. So really and truly, he's looking like he is in fine form. The championship leader today could be on for a strong one. I'm trying to find someone who could potentially be on a lap. I'm not too sure, though, if we can find anyone. Jonah Martins is invalidated. Simon Perigny is slightly improving on his previous best. But Addy, are you watching anyone here?
I'm not sure if Ron Hart is on a quick one. No, I don't think he's going to be quick enough as he comes round the final corner now. No, I think he's a good second and a bit down. I wasn't too sure. Yeah, he's only going to do a 1 minute 26.8 on that latest run. So who else have we got out there that might be on a quick lap? We've not picked up Louis Welsh yet this afternoon, so let's pick him up now. The pad man in 19th place, and he's 3 tenths up on his previous best as he is in the fight to get out of the bottom 5. I wonder what that cut-off time will be. We'll discuss that in a minute as Louis Welsh crosses the line now, and he goes into the top 10 with a 125.2, finds 4.5 tenths to improve his time by quite a margin. So let's have a look at that bottom 5 at the minute, Dan. Parnell 125.4, Smith 125.4. We've got 3 drivers on a 25.4. Tara Buchan as well on a 25.4. Dylan Warren 25.6 and Martinez on a 25.7. So what do we think, pardon me, that cut-off time is going to be? Maybe a 25.2?
I'd say around that margin as well. Probably Miklavcic is not going to be safe where he is at the moment. That's where I'm sort of guessing the cut-off time is going to be. Of course, if the Slovenian driver is able to improve, then I do think he can see himself into the next session of qualifying. But someone I am very worried about at the moment is Luke Smith. He has just posted a time to go into 13th position, but that by no means is safe, especially for a driver of his caliber. Currently 6th in the standings. He's got to improve on this one. Maybe he's not done too much wet practice for Portimao, as has a lot of drivers, I'd imagine. Also a big shock is Shanaka Clay being this far down, who I do believe is on a timed run at the moment. He certainly is pushing, currently on a 25.3. We'll see what the Williams driver can do as he struggles to get the power down out the exit of Samsung. So tricky on the traction, but in towards turns number 10 and 11 now. Uphill, and then it immediately swoops downhill. It's a very undulating circuit this is, and he's finding about almost 4 tenths of a second on this lap, and this could see him comfortably in towards Q2, especially if he carries this form in towards the last sector. It's really struggling to get the power down through Sagres now, and off the exit of the corner. Oh dear, another slide and a twitch of the steering wheel to correct himself, but he's got to be committed through Galp now. Turn number 15 is off the exit of the final corner for Shanaka Clay. He's going to cross the line to go third position. That should see him into the final part of the next session of qualifying, Q2.
Yeah, it should see him through. It looked ragged, but it was fast, and that's enough to see him through. Here's a man in real danger at the minute. He's at the bottom of the pile, and it is Tom Martinez, and he needs to find 0.4 of a second to clamber his way out of the bottom 5 at the minute. He's only finding around about half of 10 as Fabrizio Donoso gets on terms with Nicholas Longuet and goes quickest. Here comes Martinez then round the final corner. Can he get out of the bottom 5? He can only move up 1 place, finds a 10th and puts Dylan Warren to the bottom of the pile. So big improvements needed in the time that remains as Barry Buramad now goes quickly as Jonas Martin slides big time coming out of turn number 3 or 4 and heads down into Tori Vip, but he's 2 tenths down and his lap is not going well at all as Dylan Warren is on a lap at the minute. He's currently slowest of all and needs to find a good bit of time here, Dan. Let's see what he can do.
He is struggling at the moment. Dylan Warren, of course, fitting in for Alvaro Carraton. He's only finding 600ths of a second, so this is not enough to see him into the next part of qualifying, and Dylan could be out in Q1 as we've just seen a time being posted by, I believe, a Haas car of, I think, Reuben Pedreno has just crossed the line to go 7th fastest, as here comes Dylan Warren now in towards the final corner. Got to go completely flat through here, no brakes applied as off the exit now to rise over the crest and cross the line. Has he found improvement to see himself out of the bottom 5? No, he has not. He has been able to jump Tom Martinez, putting the Mercedes car back into 20th, but it is not enough, and Dylan Warren, he is in real danger of being eliminated.
Yep, Dylan Warren in a lot of trouble, as is Tom Martinez at the minute. Stachulek, though, that's a big shock. Down in 17th place and really needs to find the time to climb his way out of danger. Louis Welsh has been bumped back down onto the bubble and at the minute is not on a hot lap. So Louis Welsh in serious trouble of bowing out of qualifying. Can Stachulek knock him into some danger here? The Polish driver who went very well on a number of occasions this season and in Challengers. What can he do? 1 minute 25.4. We said a 25.2 might be the cutoff, and at the minute it is the cutoff with Louis Welsh in that position. His Stachulek gets the back end out big time there, but despite that, he is finding the time he needs, almost 3 tenths up on his previous best. Liam Parnell retires from the session, so he cannot improve. He will just have to sit, hope, pray and wait that and see that no one can go quicker than him. Stachulek, though, looks like he will. Stachulek, whoa, really sliding it through the final corner, giving it absolutely everything, crosses the line now, goes P10 and knocks Liam Parnell onto the bubble, and he's retired from the session. So big trouble for him. Miklavsic is down through the first sector, so at the minute he's not improving, but this man is. Jonas Martins is improving, but not by enough at the minute to topple Liam Parnell. Round the final corner now comes the Alpine driver, sweeping through the right-hander in the pouring rain here in Portimao. Whoa, look at that, big slide, and he's invalidated it on the run to the line. He's out of qualifying. What about Tom Martinez? He's finding time. Louis Welsh is not on a lap, so he is out. So it's all about Tom Martinez against Liam Parnell here. Parnell is out. Miklavsic, well, he's out as in not doing another lap, but he's not out of qualifying just yet. Tom Martinez is the only man that can deny him a spot in Q2. Parnell is in at the moment, but here comes Tom Martinez. Can he knock him out right to the very end? No, he can't. He's slowest of all, and Tom Martinez joins Jonas Martins, Dylan Warren, Louis Welsh and Primoz Miklavsic out in the first part of qualifying here in Portimao.
A dramatic ending to Q1 that sees Barry Burman top of the session. Brendan Lee has just posted a late time to go into second position, but it's heartbreak for the 5 drivers that are eliminated. And as I said previously, the cutoff point would be around Primoz Miklavsic, and if he didn't improve that time, he'd be in real danger. He's just missed out by about 300ths of a second to Liam Parnell, who retired early from the session. So that was a big gamble from him, but it has paid off. But I'd say for the bottom 5, they're not going to be too pleased with their performance.
Yeah, there it is then. The first part of qualifying complete. Barry Buneman, the top dog, with a 1 minute 24.446. Brendan Lee joining him in the 1 minute 24s. Donoso in third, 124.5. Longue was next. He set that time pretty early on, and well, he set a 24.6 pretty early on. It took a while to get beaten. He came back with a 24.5. Paradzes, Ronhar, Clay, Smith, and Pedreno and Lundy complete the top 10. The bottom 5, though, that's what matters. McClavsage is out. Louis Welch, Dylan Warren, Yona Martins, and Tom Martinez all bow out at this stage of qualifying. To be honest, the majority of the drivers, those we expect, the likes of Martinez, Louis Welch struggles as well at times to get out of the first part of qualifying. No major surprises, but what have you made of the first part of qualifying? Great to see Donoso back up towards the sharp end. He was struggling the first few weeks back from his holiday in Chile, but looks to have found some pace.
Absolutely, he's only got 1 point on the board so far, and hopefully he can carry this form on into Q2 and hopefully Q3 for his endeavours, and he could see himself onto a very strong place on the podium. It's also great to see that Brendan Lee is doing so well on his debut, P2, in Q1. It's very impressive from him. He's only about 400ths off of Barry Burman, so we do need to watch out for the Ferrari driver in Q2, which I believe, Andy, is just getting underway.
Yes, Q2 is getting underway, so without further ado, let's jump into the action then. As we can see, the drivers making their way out onto the track now. Tomek Paradzes, one of the first ones out there, but he's, okay, that's quite interesting. Very close with the Haas side by side going out of the pit lane into turn 1, but he's not the first man out there. The first man out there is the man that was qualifying very well in Q1 in P3, Fabrizio Donoso. So great surprise, great excitement to see him looking pretty strong. Brendan Lee as well, as you mentioned. Barry Burman, as expected, up towards the top, but you know, I'm still very impressed with that early time we saw in Q1 from Nicolas Longue, Dan. That was a real eye-opener, and it took an awful long time for it to get beaten. So that to me suggests that he's got this car hooked up round here in these conditions, and like as if he can come straight out the blocks and nail up a quick lap, and that could be key come Q3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Nicolas Longue's time was set in much damper conditions than some of the other runners in the session. So you've got to take that into consideration when actually rating those laps, because you could just say Barry's done better than him in qualifying just because he's managed to go top of the session. But I would say that Nicolas Longue was still the most impressive because it took so long for drivers, even in the improving conditions, to actually overtake him. And I'd say that if they had equal conditions, Nicolas Longue would have been quicker there. So if the conditions stay similar to this, we got to put him as favourite to be one of the favourites to be pole position.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When we get round to Q3, look at that from Donoso. What a camera shot that was as he went sliding through the final corner. Yeah, but when we get to Q3, we will ask everyone in chat, and I'll ask Dan and myself. He'll ask me who we go for pole position. But early signs are Nicolas Longue will be one of the favourites for it as we watch Donoso make his way through turns 1, 2 and 3 around this Portimao circuit. Really, really slow that third corner. I've got to be so careful picking up the throttle, so patient, and that's exactly what Donoso was doing as he sweeps up a hill through 4 and then down that hill into the braking zone for Tori Vip, where I'm sure, Dan, we will see plenty of dive bombs and overtaking manoeuvres.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I believe in PSL we saw a big dive bomb.
Yes, we
from
did.
Brendan Lee.
Very good, very funny.
I mean, that was a wonderful moment. I mean, it didn't help my ears all too much, and certainly for the live viewers as well. But yeah, we are certainly going to see a bunch of overtakes in towards that braking zone at Torre Vip. As Fabrizio Donoso continuing on this lap, he's looked quite tidy at the moment. He's hitting all of his apexes. He's done a 57.1 through the first and second sector. So I'd say Donoso is looking quite tidy on this run, and we'll see what he does through the final sector now as he's coming in towards Segre Corner. I believe there's a wonderful beach there. Of course, Portugal, a very lovely holiday destination. I'm actually heading there over summer, so I'm very excited for that one. Maybe I'll visit this wonderful circuit. As off the exit at the final corner for Fabrizio Donoso, and he's going to open up the timings with a 1:24.453.
And 3/10 clear of the man that we thought was going to come hit it straight out the block. Nicolas Longue, as Tomek Paradzes now goes top with a 24.390. How's Brendan Lee looking? He's following his teammate around the racetrack at the minute as he makes his way now round the final corner. So at the minute it's Paradzes from Donoso, then Barry Burman slots into third, so he's unable to go quicker. Here comes Brendan Lee. Is he going to go top of the order? He's going to be close, not close enough though. He goes P4 with a 1:24.5. So his time is done. Let's have a look further down the order. Who else we got? Shinaka Clay maybe? Is he on a good lap? No, he's not. He's invalidated his latest run, so things not going to plan for him. What about Simon Perigny? He's in the pits at the minute. So what about his teammate Liam Parnell? He's making his way now round the final corner. So Parnell trying to make his way into Q3 as he makes his way around the final corner. Not usually one contesting pole, but usually one contesting getting into the next part of qualifying. He does a 24.9 and goes 7th fastest of the 10 times we've seen so far. What about our race winner last time out, Thomas Ronhaar? Not going to plan for him either, Dan, because he's also invalidated that first run. But as we know, in the wet conditions, they fill up and they go again, and I'm pretty sure he'll be going for another lap without coming into the pit.
I'd imagine we're going to see a lot of runners go for more and more laps. I'd say Fabrizio Donoso currently in the final corner now. I don't believe he's pushing this time by, but he is going to go for another lap. I'm trying to see, is Barry Burman on a push lap? Doesn't seem like he is. What about his teammate Baena? No, he is not, but I'm just trying to find someone really. I think Pedreno and Clay are the two to watch out for at the moment. Pedreno's done a 57.4 through the second sector, which isn't all that impressive when you compare that to what we saw from Fabrizio Donoso. I'd say he's going to be around about the midfield areas. Tara Buchan has just posted a time of a 24.7 to go 6th fastest. Here comes the young Spaniard, a part of the Race Clutch Academy team for Alpine. Through the final corner now, we'll see what Pedreno can do. Then we'll check in on Clay in behind him as Pedreno goes into 6th. What about Shanaka Clay to cross the line now? And he is going to go in towards 5th position ahead of Nicholas Longo, the 24.6. But at the moment, Andy, it's looking quite tight-knit in Q2 at the moment.
Yep, and it's looking very, very close. Liam Parnell not in a particularly quick lap here, so we'll watch him complete it. And then we'll see if we can get Luke Smith, who's in the final corner. He's also, though, 5 seconds down on this latest run, so it's not going to plan for him either. What about Donoso? Is he going hard again? He was, but he's invalidated the lap, and that means we'll go to the sole remaining Aston Martin of Thomas Ronhaar to see how he's getting on his latest lap, but he's also not in a particularly quick lap either, so several drivers falling by the wayside, not in quick laps. What about Nicholas Longue, though? He was very quick early on in Q1. How's he looking midway through Q2? It's looking like a very, very good lap. And it's quickest of all, 1:24.0 from Nicholas Longue. Smashes them by 3.5 tenths of a second. Top time coming from the Frenchman and championship leader. He's on top again.
Yeah, that was a very unfortunate time to have a sip of my water. I almost spat it out at seeing that lap there from Longue to go just about 3 tenths clear of anyone else on the grid. That is a very impressive time from the Frenchman.
Here comes Buraban, though. He might beat it. Oh, he's 2.5 tenths down. And I tell you what, that's surprising to see Buraman again in similar track conditions around about 2 tenths slower than Longue. This time 2 and a bit tenths slower than Longue. That's a bit of a trend developing here, Dan, isn't it?
Yeah, Longue seems to be the man to beat at the moment in qualifying. At least in the wet weather conditions. Liam Parnell, the two Red Bulls actually about to cross the line now. See what Parnell can do. He goes 7th fastest. His teammate of Simon Perigny is going to cross the line to only go 12th fastest. The bottom 5 really is taking shape at the moment, Andy. It's currently occupied by Stahalek, Perigny, Lundy, Baena and Thomas Ronhaar, who I'm very shocked about, but he is on a push lap now and he's just coming through the final sector.
Luke Smith's gone up into 3rd position, so a good effort there from him. It's taken him a while to get going in the session towards the sharp end, but he is now doing so. Here comes Thomas Ronhaar then, as you spoke about, crossing the line now, and he goes 9th. So not what we expect from Thomas Ronhaar. We expect him to be a little bit sharper than that, and he's only inside the top 10 by a couple of hundredths of a second, because you can see that he, Pedreno and Tara Buchan have set very, very similar lap times. So Ronhaar with work to do, Dan, to get himself into Q3 for sure.
Yeah, that's a bit of unfamiliar territory for Thomas Ronhaar to be 9th in qualifying, especially coming off the back of a win last time out in Mexico. So he does need to be careful here. I'd say he's probably going to come into the pit lane, strap on a fresh set of the intermediates, and then go once again. He's already done 3 laps on this same set now, so I'd imagine they're going to start to feel some wear. But the Haas driver of Piotr Stahalek at the moment, Andy, is just coming through the first sector, and he's already improving by a 10th of a second. I believe Shanaka Clay has just gone up into 3rd position, so the times beginning to topple pretty damn fast here.
Yep, they sure are. Simon Perigny going for another lap, but he's invalidated it, so it's not going to plan for him. But time certainly beginning to tumble. Perazis has made a mess of his lap, but Ronhaar, as you mentioned earlier, is on one. So let's see how Ronhaar gets on. 9th at the minute, on the bubble, or almost on the bubble, with that 24.7. Is he on a quicker lap now? Look how much he's hugging that inside line as he makes his way. Oh, that's an invalidation. Rear end sliding like crazy. You're on the throttle far too soon. and he invalidates the lap, but I think he was not on a particularly strong one anyway. Who did you say was on a quick lap, Dan?
Stahalek.
Stahalek.
Improving by about a tenth of a second in the first sector. We'll see what he can do as he comes out of the final corner. Has to correct his steering ever so slightly, but to cross the line now, and he goes into 5th position, improving by almost 6/10 of a second.
And Brendan Lee's gone second quickest, a 24.1, getting himself within range of Longay, but still a tenth and a bit down. So yeah, Longay again looking very strong. Several drivers tried to topple him and no one getting particularly close at this stage of the session. Longay at the minute looking head and shoulders above the rest in qualifying trim as things stand. So not going to plan for the rest, but here is Andrei Tarbukin, but he's just starting a lap, so he's not in a quick one. What about Shinaka Clay? Is he on one at the minute? No, he's coming into the pits, so it's not a quick one for him. Paragis, though, he is on a lap, and he's currently 7th quickest at the minute. And for his standards, he won't be happy with that, and he'll want to find an improvement. And he only needs to find half a tenth to move into the top 4. That's how close it is between Shinaka Clay in 4th place and Paragis in 7th. They're all on a 1 minute 24.3. But here comes Paragis now to the line. Is it an improvement from him? There is, up into 2nd place, and alongside Nicholas Longay in the 1 minute 24.0 club at the minute. Good time there from the pole. The reigning Challengers champion showing his worth.
Yeah, that was very impressive from Paragis, but I do think he is actually going to be beaten possibly by Brendan Lee. He's got Stahalek just in front of him though. So these guys are both done back-to-back laps. Stahalek coming into the pit lane. What about Brendan Lee? He's also peeling off into the box. So Tomic's time on the front row of Q2 is safe for now. But Fabrizio Donoso is coming to the line now. He's improving by 2/10 and a bit. And he's just gone shy of 3/10 clear on only 4 thousandths off the back of Brendan Lee. How about that? 5 years later from F1 Esports 2017, and these two are still glued to each other. It is wonderful to see how these two veterans are still keeping it up all the way in 2022.
Tarbukin's done a good lap there to get himself into the top 10, so good time there from him. 1 minute 24.349. Hadn't been in the top 10 until now. He is now though, and things are beginning to shape up with 3.5 minutes to go here, Dan. So, cut-off time, Iker Bena with a 124.455, a tenth and a half clear of Carter Lundy. Is that the gap? Is that the difference? What are the surprises at the minute? You could say Ronhar, Pedreno, Perigny, drivers that would like and would expect themselves to get into the next part of qualifying, particularly Ronhar and Pedreno at the minute, struggling to find the time to get into the top 10. Wow.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are seemingly struggling for pace, and I think we are in for a few shocks to actually be eliminated in Q2 here, but Iker Baena is finding just over a tenth and a quarter on his previous best. That will put him around about the range of his teammate Barry Burman. That's just how close things are in qualifying, as through Sagre corner now for Iker Baena, the Spaniard in Portugal, off the exit now and in towards Galp corner, riding the curves throughout the apex there, and off the exit now he's revving out the car in 6th gear, and he peers off into the pit lane. That's a bit of an odd one there. I think he would have wanted to complete that lap, but he was not meant to be.
And there's a lap for Pedreno. He needed it as well. He goes up into the top 6. Carter Lundy, though, not on a quick lap, so it's not looking good at the minute for him. What about the Red Bulls? Parnell is out there. He's on an outlap. Perigny's on an outlap, but Ronhar's the man to watch at the minute. So the improvement came from Pedreno, a man we expect to see in the top 10, finds the time he needs to go 6th quickest. But here is Thomas Ronhar in the Aston Martin, winner last time out, one of the rising stars in the world of league racing and esports, but not having it his own way so far in qualifying tonight. Here comes the Aston Martin, not quite never yet, but he certainly needs an improvement. Does he find it? He does. Goes 3rd quickest, 1 minute 24.166, and that should now be enough to see him safely through as Barry Burman moves within 6 thousandths of Nicholas Longay, but still can't quite topple him.
Yeah, Longay set this time about 10 minutes ago now, and it's still unbeaten by anyone on the grid. I think it was 10 minutes ago. I'm not too sure. My memory's a little bit hazy. Just so much has happened in this session, but still it remains a fact that Nicholas Longay is so competitive at the minute. No one in the top 10 aside from Tarbukin is seemingly on a quick lap, and the Ferrari car is actually going to see himself possibly more secure into Q3 if he can hook up this lap very nicely. He's through now the final corner. Oh, but he's lost the back end. He touched the curb a bit too much, and that's a spin for Andrei Tarabukin, and he's got to be upset about that one because he was looking like he was finding an improvement. But back into the pit lane now, and I think that is his qualifying over. He's only got 40 seconds left.
It is. He was in the top 10 till that spin, but Carter Lundy's just delivered a superb lap to go 7th. The Canadian delivering with 30 seconds to go and goes up into 7th place, and at the minute has booked his place into the next part of qualifying. What an effort from him. Statulik is in bother, and at the minute is not on a quick lap. He's got 20 seconds to get to the line. He should just about get there in time. Luke Smith is on the bubble, needs to improve at the minute, and he is on a lap to maybe do so. So here comes Luke Smith round the final couple of corners. 1 minute 24.3 is the time he's got at the minute, and he's got drivers behind him potentially going quicker. Luke Smith then, checkered flag is out, crosses the line now, goes quickest of all, 123.9. Well, that's answered that. Bayonet is out of qualifying, he will not improve. So we now wait to see who can improve. Statulik needs to find a time, as does both Red Bulls. Shanaka Clay at the minute on the bubble and could be on the brink of a massive upset, but he is finding time at the minute through the middle sector. So Shanaka Clay, P10 on the bubble, hold it all together, and you will knock Reuben Pedreno into that risky spot as Brendan Lee now on debut goes quickest in Q2 with a 123.834. Here comes Shanaka Clay though, needs the time, needs to improve, currently only 10th. He will improve, surely he does, goes second, knocks Pedreno into trouble, and let's see what these Red Bulls can do. First it will be Perigny, can't improve. Parnell goes into 9th, knocks Pedreno out of qualifying, but he is on a lap, but he is a little bit slower than his previous best. Whoa, big moment, and he bails out of that one, but Statulik can still knock Carter Lundy out of qualifying. That superb effort at the end from Lundy might not be enough if Statulik can find the 10th he needs as Longy retakes his supremacy at the top of the order. Here comes Statulik, can he get through? Yes he can, goes P6, knocks Carter Lundy out, he's down to 11th, agony for him, through goes Statulik, relief for him.
Yeah, that was an emphatic ending, really, to Q2 for Piotr Stahalek. But it was Nicolas Longuet to go atop the order with Brendan Lee. 2 thousandths between the pair of them. The top 5 separated by less than a 10th of a second. And how about that as well? At the bottom of the order, well, at the end of the top 10, Liam Parnell with a 1 minute 24.242. And Carter Lundy eliminated by 2 thousandths of a second.
Wow, what an end to qualifying that is. So Carter Lundy out in P11 by 2 thousandths, as you say. Liam Parnell squeezing his way into the next part of qualifying. Pedreno out as well after that big slide. Andrei Tarabukin out as well for Ferrari. Simon Perigny and Iker Bena dropping out at the second stage of qualifying, Dan. But let's have a quick chat about that result then. Q2 completed. Any surprises? Maybe not really in the end. I think the top drivers we expected to get through got there in the end. Maybe Reuben Pedreno will be probably the most disappointed of all 5.
Yeah, and I also think that Simon Perigny being, I think, 13th or 14th position, is not going to be the best position for him to be. I would have expected him, if he wasn't in Q3, at least in 11th position, but he wasn't able to secure that. He was having trouble throughout the entirety of the qualifying session. He was only able to get a representative lap time in at the end of the session. So I think if he had more time, if he didn't make those mistakes throughout the entire 15 minutes, we could have seen him in Q3.
Yep, but in the end, you can't make those mistakes, and Perigny has done so. So he drops out of qualifying. He'll be disappointed with himself, as you say, Dan. But we now need to talk about our predictions for pole position. Everyone in the chat, tell us, who do you think is going to get pole? We're going to have wet conditions for this final part of qualifying. We'll jump in a moment's time. Dan, it's time for you to give us who you think. But for me, this is the most clear-cut all season for me, for my pole. I'm going Nicolas Longuet.
I think I have to agree with you here. Nicolas Longuet is looking in fine form at the moment, but I wouldn't count out Brendan Lee. He has been second in both Q1 and Q2, and if he can find the time and hook up the lap in Q3, we could see him on the front row and in P1. So I would say it's either going to be Nicolas Longuet or Brendan Lee, but if I had to pick between the two, I'm going to say Longuet.
Yeah, Jess agrees in the chat. Patrick Kiley also agrees Longuet for pole. So yeah, a lot of people agreeing with us, Dan. He just looked superb out there on the track so far. So let's jump into it then, and let's see how things are getting on as we get ready for Q3. Some of the drivers making their way out onto the track, and the weather conditions haven't changed at all. MW says Barry or Longy for pole. Yeah, you can't write off Barry Bruneman. That's absolutely true as well. Very, very strong qualifier. But, you know, I just feel Longy has just looked head and shoulders above when the track conditions have been the same for all the drivers, Dan, and I'm sure you fully agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been so difficult to topple in qualifying at the moment. So Longy certainly is going to be the favourite for pole position, but there are still 10 candidates that are in with an opportunity to take pole position, and with how close league racing has become, who knows the result at the end of the day, as Q3 is well underway. I believe the first driver out on circuit and going to be the first one to put in a timed lap. It's going to be the Polish driver of Piotr Stahalek.
Yep, we've got 2 poles making their way into the final part of qualifying, and there will be a third pole at the end of this session. Will it be a Polish driver with it though? That's the question. If Stahalek or Parantzis can take that pole position and move into P1, if Stahalek attacks that first corner, you really have to attack it around here. You need to have so much confidence in that first sector and have no doubt in your mind that you're going to invalidate or cut the inside. So easy to do so, given the high-speed nature of that first couple of corners before you go slowly through 3 and then catapult up the hill through 4 and then downhill into this difficult braking zone of Torrey Vip and into this technical middle part of the lap. Then Stahalek gunning for this pole position. Let's see how he gets on as he makes his way down the hill now into this difficult right-hander. So easy to lock the right front up, but Stahalek at the minute, knowing it's all about the traction on the exit, it's like a roller coaster ride as you sweep down the hill and then back uphill, blind on entry to turns 10 and 11, and he goes really wide but gives himself as much turn in as possible, just like we've seen from Brendan Lee all the way back in Q1. It's a 57-1 through the middle sector for Stahalek as the back end slides on that Haas car. How is his first effort going to be? What is his first banker going to look like around here in Q3 in Portimao? Round the final couple of corners now for Piotr Stahalek as he now makes his way round that final corner. I've never seen anyone take so much of the inside as that. Stahalek really throwing everything at the racetrack, and he does a 24.2 to go quickest of all so far. So Luke Smith beats him with a 24.1. What about Parantzis? He goes second. Here's Donoso. He goes quickest of all. 123.8 from him. But here's the man of the minute, Nicholas Longy. But he's invalidated the lap and he's not been able to capitalise. Here comes Barry Bruneman. Can't beat Donoso. Can only go second. 1 minute 23.9. But here comes the debutant, Brendan Lee, on a scorcher of a lap. Is it P1 on debut? It is. 123.790. Brendan Lee on top here in WR tonight after the first runs in Q3.
That's fantastic there from Brendan Lee to really stamp his authority in Q3 at the moment, but I'd assume that more laps are going to be coming out from these drivers. Stahalek's unfortunately invalidated on his second run. I believe Donoso's getting out of the way of everybody else. Shanaka Clay doesn't seem like he's pushing all too hard, but we'll see what he can do in his Williams car. I actually think he is going for this lap currently in P7 at the moment. The 1 minute 24.199, only 5 thousandths off the back of Thomas Ronhar, and he's finding a further 2 tenths in the first and second sector. So if he carries this form on, he could see himself possibly into the top 3, maybe onto the front row provisionally, as through now the final braking zone at Sagres corner. It's going to be flat out now up towards Galp corner. What can Shanaka Clay do? He took pole position last season with a 1 minute 15.3. What's it going to be in the wet weather conditions? He crosses the line. He does a 23.8. He gets close, but not close enough to Brendan Lee, who has an emphatic start to Q3.
Yeah, here comes Donoso again, but he's on a slow lap, so he's bailed out of that one. What about Thomas Ronhar? He's not in a quick lap either at the minute. What about the Ferrari? Brendan Lee behind him. Is he going quickly again? He is going quickly again. Beats them all again. Wow. 123.767. Wasn't much of an improvement, but it was enough to extend his margin even further. The Ferrari driver on a charge here tonight. Brendan Lee really turning up the heat in qualifying 3, and questions for Nicholas Longy, who looked like the form man in Q1 and Q2. No lap set so far. The only man of the 10 not to do so. Has the pressure got got into the championship leader, Brendan Lee on debut. No such problems. On top by half a tenth over Shanaka Clay.
Someone else could be throwing their name into the goblet of fire, and that's Barry Burman, because he's finding a quite substantial amount of time only in the first sector itself. So Barry Burman coming up the hill now at Samsung, and then downhill through Craig Jones, turn number 9, and then uphill for Sagres. You put it perfectly. It's like a roller coaster ride. There's a wide entry in towards turn number 11 to swoop into the apex. What a run through there for Barry Burman, and he's finding just under 2.5 tenths on his previous best. Now through turn number 13 for the Iranian ace. What can he do at the moment, as he's got one final braking zone to go at Sagres corner and off the exit, currently on a 1 minute 23.925 in 4th position. Can he compete with Brendan Lee and Shanaka Clay? Brendan Lee's just in front of him on the circuit, but he's not going to be competing a lap because it's going to be Barry Burman to cross the line, and he does go to the top of the order. A provisional pole time set by the Iranian McLaren driver, a 1 minute 23.630. Very nice stuff from Barry.
Took him a couple of laps, but Barry Burman gets himself up to speed here in Q3 when it matters most. Never write the Iranian driver off. One of the top dogs, and he has done it once again. Here comes Liam Parnell, the only man on a hot lap at the minute. Crosses the line now, improves to P6, and he'll be happy with that. Well, Liam Parnell, not quite enough though to topple Luke Smith, but he has got himself in that club of drivers on a 24-1 from Luke Smith in 5th down to Thomas Ronhar and 8th. So after the opening salvo, I think the drivers disappointed will be Paradis, Ronhar, Longay especially. Statulite won't be too happy either. They will expect a lot more. You'd expect all of those four to be much further up near the sharp end, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, these guys, they won't be too pleased by being this far off the pace of Barry and Brendan and Shanaka as well, who are in the 1 minute 23s already though. Nicholas Longay's coming out on circuit for his outlap at the moment, getting out nice and early, trying to avoid all of the traffic. You can see how many drivers are down at turn number 3 there, down at Lagos corner. I believe Tomic Paradis is there, Fabrizio Donoso and Thomas Ronhar, all going to be possibly catching the dirty air from each other, which might be sort of amplified in the rainy conditions. But Nicholas Longay, he's got a clear track in front of him. I think Liam Parnell's probably going to peel off into the pit lane, and that's going to leave a clear track for the Frenchman, who's had a very nice time in qualifying so far, of course, topping Q2. Our championship leader, Andy, he's going to be going for his push lap for pole position.
This is it then for Nicholas Longay, the man we've all tipped in chat and in the commentary box for pole position. The man who's looked so strong in Q1 and 2. He's been delivering really strong lap times early on in the damper conditions, the wetter conditions, and the other drivers have been struggling to beat him until later on in the session. So we expect this man to find a couple of tenths of a second on the rest. That's just been how strong he's looked so far in qualifying, and we know that a couple of tenths is an awful lot of time. Is it that the case, or is it the case that some of the other drivers have been hiding the pace right towards the end of the session? The likes of Barry Burman, we know, is so strong in qualifying. How is Longay looking then? It's a 23.9 through the first sector for the Frenchman, the World Championship leader, who has a 12-point advantage over Alvaro Carraton, who is not here tonight in this championship. So he knows it's a big opportunity for him to extend his championship lead by a good bit further. As now Longay is out the back of the circuit, making his way down the hill through that roller coaster section, through the left hand and up to the blind, turn 10 and 11. And again, you'll see him, well, actually, he doesn't go as wide as some of the others. He's happy to take a shallower line on entry as Nicholas Longay, and he's now purple through the middle sector. And the Frenchman, as we expected, is now beginning to deliver the purple sectors we all wanted to see. And the Frenchman now has just 2 more corners to negotiate as he bids for pole position. The championship leader, with a bit between his teeth here tonight in WOR, makes his way round the final corner in the Alfa Romeo towards the line now. Watch the clock on the right hand side. He's going to smash them. 1 minute 23.472, 2 tenths of a second clear of Barry Burman in second. Beat that, folks, beat that. The other 9 have got a serious target to aim for as the championship leader lays down the gauntlet, Dan.
Well, Andy, we do have another effort coming out from Brendan Lee here, finding 2/10 in the second sector. Luke Smith has just gone into P3. That's been immediately beaten by Parajas, who goes onto the front row. But Brendan Lee looking to stamp his authority in Q3. Can he topple the top 2 drivers at the moment and get onto the front row of the grid? Here comes Lee to the line. He lost a bit of time in that final sector, but he has got himself into 3rd position. But Andy, that is a magical lap from Nicholas Longue there.
Very, very strong effort. We expected it would come eventually, and it has. Here comes Shinaka Clay. Can he topple it? No, he can't. He can only go 5th quickest at the minute. So he is still on top. Barry Buneman on an out lap at the minute, about to start a flying lap. So who else have we got out there? Is Longue going again? No, he's not. He's bailed out of this latest lap. How is Stachulek getting on? Here he is in the Haas car, and he really, really does need to find an improvement. He will not be happy with P8 at the minute, the Polish driver, and he's finding half a tenth, but he'll be looking to find a little bit more than that. Well, Stachulek will be looking for a top 4 or 5 spot on the grid, will the Polish driver, but at the minute it ain't happening for him. At the minute he's either going to be rooted in 8th place or maybe up to 7th and staying on the 4th row of the grid. Here comes Stachulek then round the final corner. Just in front of that we've got Luke Smith. No, I thought we did. We don't. It was Longue returning to the pits or going for another lap, so we'll go back to Stachulek then. If we can find him, and he's gone 7th quickest. He did find 1 place and he moved up 1 spot, but here comes Donoso now. Finding 2/10 of a second won't be enough to challenge for pole, I wouldn't think, as Ronhar now smashes them all. 23.4 to go quickest of all. So it's Donoso on top, Ronhar second. Who is next to challenge? Here's Barry Buneman setting purple sectors out there on the lap at the minute. So Ronhar delivers the time to get ahead of Nicholas Longue. The checkered flag is out. Brendan Lee will not be in pole. Parajas will not be in pole. Neither will Donoso. They've all seen the checker. Here comes Barry Buneman. Shinaka Clay has bailed out of his lap. So let's see Barry Buneman. Can he topple Thomas Ronhar at the very end? Of course he can. He does it. 123.4 from Thomas Ronhar to take back the pole position. It's flip-flop one way then the other. Longue, Ronhar, and now Barry Buneman on top. But here comes Nicholas Longue, the man of the moment, the man we thought would take the pole, the man who's been head and shoulders clear of everyone else in qualifying up till now tonight. Here comes Longue through turn 14 of Segre. Now the final corner. He has been head and shoulders clear, the championship leader in these damp conditions tonight. Is he now going to prove that with a scintillating time? Watch the clock. Is it pole? You betcha. 123.2 smashes them by 2/10 once again. Longue on pole. Was there ever in doubt? Here comes Luke Smith trying to improve, trying to move up from the 4th row of the grid. Can he do so? He can. He goes P5. Good effort from him. Who else is on a lap? I don't think there is anyone out on a lap. Stachulek's bailed out. Ronhar is invalidated his lap, and that means Nicholas Longue has taken pole position as we suspected, and it's by a very handsome margin.
By almost 2/10 of a second. That is a chasm when you get to this level of grid. That is a magical lap from Nicholas Longue there to go atop the order. Barry Buneman gave it his best effort, but it just was not enough for the Frenchman, for the Iranian driver to topple the Frenchman. You can see at the bottom of your screens, by the way, everyone's leaving the session. We are having a scheduled restart to this lobby, so don't worry, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere, folks. Don't you worry. But wow, let's digest that lap from Nicholas Longue. 2/10 clear of Barry Buneman. And if you can put 2/10 on Barry Buneman, it's a very, very special lap. It's a very special qualifying session from the Frenchman. Throughout the session, he was between a 10.5 and 2.5 tenths clear of the others, and he proves it again in Q3. He beats Barry Buneman to pole position. Thomas Ronhar comes home in 3rd. He peaks at the right time, as someone says in chat, and that's absolutely true. Brendan Lee, he'll be disappointed with 4th in the end. Luke Smith is 5th, with Tommy Parajas only 6th. Donoso, he was up there. He'll be gutted with 7th. Clay is 8th. Stachulek 9th, and Liam Parnell completes the top 10 from a thrilling qualifying session. Really enjoyed it, but Nicholas Longue in a class of his own, quite simply.
Yeah, that was really something special from Nicholas Longue there, and a big well done to the likes of Patrick Keeley, Jess Games, MW. They all tipped Nicholas Longue for pole, and we actually got one right as well, Andy. So a pat on the back to us, but hopefully we'll get this lobby started very soon and we can get into this race, because I am so excited for this one now.
Yeah, it should be a cracker. Dry conditions expected for this Grand Prix, so that changes the dynamic entirely. That might, you know, some drivers might have gone for a slightly wetter setup for grid position. Some drivers will have gone for the dry conditions to suit their car. So there's so many different dynamics that are going to be at play for this Grand Prix. Free tyre choice as well. What will they go for? They're going to have all kinds of selections available to them in terms of strategy too. So it's going to be very, very exciting to see how things pan out. But while we wait for the lobby to reset, let's have a quick look at some of our sponsors, and let's speak about SimStaff. Why don't we? Bespoke Premier Esports Staffing Solutions. Use code WOR at checkout for 10% off SimStaff. SimStaff powering WR in Season 12. And League Racing is only as strong as their team. You can hire experienced, passionate broadcasting teams, race stewards, and event managers for your next event. Check out simstaff.net to book your team now. So yeah, looking forward to it, Dan. It should be pretty exciting stuff. I'm sure we'll get back in the lobby very, very shortly. But it's been a really exciting session. Longate in fine form. Let's talk about the drivers that will be slightly disappointed. I think Brendan Lee in 4th, I think it was. You'll be a bit annoyed. But Donoso down in 7th, because he was looking very strong prior to that, wasn't he?
Yeah, Donoso and Clay actually did the exact same lap time there. So I think they'd be pretty disappointed with where they are in qualifying. They were good. I think it was about 4 tenths, yeah, off of Nicholas Longuet, which is not good for their standards. But of course, there are no points for qualifying. They still have the opportunity in the race, so they've just got to brush it off their shoulders now. And of course, we have all 20 drivers looking to negotiate this circuit. Given that it was a wet qualifying in Q2, especially sort of starting at the back of the order, that's not going to have any advantage strategically now, because everyone gets the free choice of tyres.
Yeah, spot on. Everyone gets free choice. So that P11 or outside that top 10 with a bit of a tyre advantage and strategy advantage goes completely out the window, as you say, Dan. But let's talk about this circuit. We spoke about it briefly in qualifying. New to the calendar relatively recently in Formula 1 due to the pandemic. But it's been a rip-roaring success on the game, hasn't it? The world of esports, league racing, we've all taken to it like a duck to water. It's been a fantastic circuit, and it provides such great racing throughout that first sector. And for me, I think we're going to see a thrilling race.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very fast circuit. It's 4.653 kilometers in length. We're going to have 33 laps here. That's making a race distance of 153 kilometers in total. So these drivers have got their work cut out for them. But in terms of league racing, it has been absolutely wonderful. Of course, we came here last season in WOR. That pole position was taken by Shinaka Clay, but it was Jarno Opmeer to win. So in his Mercedes as well, it's quite fitting because Mercedes is the only team that's actually won here in Formula 1, both times being Lewis Hamilton. So all the signs point towards a cracking Grand Prix.
Yep, should be a cracker as we get ready. Just waiting for an invite into the lobby, folks. But again, while we wait, let's have a look at another one of our sponsors, Grid Rival. Racing has never been this fun, folks. And Grid Rival, make your favourite motor sports series more exciting, more engaging and more social through a fantasy app. Search for World Online Racing, no spaces, on the Grid Rival app, and compete against the community with a £25 prize pot. And for every 50 members that join, we'll add another 25 quid into the prize pool. Download the Grid Rival app using that link on screen now, and get yourself signed up and compete against everyone, and we'll have a bit of fantasy league on whatever your favourite series is, whether it be Formula 1 or whatever. But be sure to jump yourselves into Grid Rival and join up and try and get yourselves involved in that prize pool. Still waiting on an invite, folks, to get back into that lobby. But while we wait for that, Dan, let's have another look at these championship standings. They are shaping up very nicely, and Nicholas Longuet with that pole position will be very, very happy with the situation. Of course, as we touched on, Alvaro Carraton, he's ill at the minute, unable to make it for tonight. So massive opportunity for Longuet to extend that championship lead tonight, and that's even if Perazes can beat him, who is third in the standings. Longuet would probably still be able to stretch it out overall for a gap tonight. So a big opportunity for him to really stamp his authority, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the form that he's carrying into this race, it seems like he's so dialed in to this circuit. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes away with the full 26 points, of course, 25 for winning the race, and then an extra one for fastest lap. But I know that drivers, if they're not having a particularly great day, they can try and take the fastest lap off of him. But Nicolas Longuet, whatever the result is, it's going to be good for him in terms of getting ahead of Alvaro Carraton, because Carraton, of course, can't score any points today. It also is good signs for Tomek, Shanaka, and Luke Smith, because those guys can all make up points. I would mention Jake, but I don't believe he's here today. We haven't really seen too much of Benham. He's been replaced by, I think it's Tomek today in the Mercedes car, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so Tomek Peradze is jumping in as well. But big opportunity for several drivers. Ronhard as well. I mean, it's so compact, isn't it? 14 points between Peradze and third, and Ronhard and what's that? 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th place in the standing. So a big chance maybe for Ronhard to move up, maybe ahead of Smith, ahead of Benham, ahead of Shanaka Clay if he's a much better race than Shanaka Clay as well. So quite a few drivers with ambitions of climbing up that order tonight. And as you can see, folks, the calendar on the right hand side, we have gone past Mexico now, and we are arriving here in Portugal. We didn't have the Australian Grand Prix last week. Of course, we had issues with the game, and thankfully Codemasters have been really kind and helped us out to try and give us a build to try and get it ready for release for the real world and sort out the issues that we're having at the minute with the game. So Codemasters, great to have them working alongside the likes of WR and PSGL to try and resolve the issues, and good community spirit from the leagues and the game side, which of course really helps everyone in the long run. So good to see that, and it's good that we were able to have these races tonight despite the issues last week. So that's the reason that we're here in Portugal tonight. We're not in Australia, but we will be going there pretty soon in the championship season. But yeah, that is the standings, and we're getting ready to go racing pretty soon. No sign of it getting started just yet in the lobby, and pretty soon I think we will be getting going, Dan. But Dan, I mean, it's hard to say, different conditions now obviously, but have you got any predictions for who's going to take the victory today? Obviously in the wet it looks like Longuet, but in the dry it's a totally different story, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I was only watching, I think, 2 drivers whilst they were practicing. I was watching Shanaka and Ronhard. Ronhard looked really good in the dry conditions, so I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls out a good result from this one. Of course, winner of the last race in Mexico, and these 2 circuits aren't too dissimilar from each other. Very similar lap times as well, and there's a lot of undulating and fast corners, so possibly we could see a surprise performance from Thomas Ronhard today. But I'd say Nicolas Longuet, even in the wet conditions, that can translate over to the dry, and he's looking so confident at the minute, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see him still remaining at the sharp end of the field.
Yeah, absolutely right. Nicolas Longuet, probably the safe money would go on him. I wonder what people are thinking in the chat. Let us know, folks. Who do you think is going to be the man for the pole position? Or sorry, for the victory, not the pole. We know Longuet, of course, is the man on the pole. Tell us, who do you think is going to be? I'm going to go Longuet. I'm going to go safe on Longuet. Are you going Longuet as well, Dan? Or are you going to mix it up?
I'll mix it up. Why not? I mean, I think you always have to add a little spice into the mix. But I think on debut today, Brendan Lee, he's getting some of the rust off from not being in league racing for quite some time, and I think now is the moment for him, and he's going to win this race today. So I think Brendan Lee, from it's 4th on the grid. We'll see him at the top of the order.
Well, let's see what happens. Let's see who's right. Will either of us be right? Will anyone in the chat be right? Some people saying that Tomek will get the win. Tara Buchan win easy. Okay, let's see if that turns out to be the case. Jess Games says Longuet or Ronhard, in her opinion, will get the victory. Let's see what happens. Dan thinks Longuet will have a good chance to the win. So let's see how it goes, but there'll be a slight disadvantage because of the DRS behind him. We've got a poll out there now on the channel. Be sure to have a vote. I'm going to have a vote right now, and I'm going to go for Nicolas Longuet on there. Longuet, Burman, Ronhard are the options, or other. Leave a comment on that one. We always love to hear what you guys have got to say on the WOR channel, but we are still waiting, folks. We're in the lobby, but we are waiting to get going. But while we do wait, I think it's time to get into this and get excited and get geared up. This is round 10 of the WR PC F1 season, the Portuguese Grand Prix, and it's coming live right now. Here it is then, folks, here from Portimao, round 10 of the WR Season 12 season, and we are getting ready for what should be another thrilling installment in this fantastic championship season. Well, Sam Corby claimed his first WR title in Portimao in Season 11. Sam took 7 wins in Tier 1, including victory here last season. Here's the racetrack then, 4.653 kilometres, 2.891 miles, 15 turns and 2 DRS zones around this incredible circuit with so much undulation and elevation change, uphill, downhill. It's like a roller coaster ride around this part of the circuit. Previous winners here, Jarno Opmeer last season coming out on top, as Dan mentioned earlier on, as this round 10 of the season. Let's take a look at some previous action. Lepper's audacious move as he is in the McLaren, going for the move down the inside. Brave stuff, making it work up at the top of the hill through turns 10 and 11. Super stuff there from Lepper. And what about this one? Jake Benham battling away here with Luke Smith. Smith sends it down the inside, gets it done into turn 3. Benham fighting back up the hill through 4. I'm sure we'll see plenty of action like this tonight as they go side by side, banging wheels down towards Tory Vip. Well, the drivers are starting the formation lap now. 33 laps ahead of them then. Let's have a look at the tyre graphic then and get an idea of what they've all selected, Dan, because we know they get free tyre choice, and well, we've got quite a variation there between soft and medium. Really split, isn't it?
Yeah, I really do like this, how mixed in the strategies are with each other. I've got sort of the pit strategies. If they start on the softs, it's going to be around about lap 10 to 14 is what I've gone with here. Then they'll swap onto the mediums, or it's going to be, if you're starting on the mediums, lap 17 to lap 23 is going to be your window for these softs. These drivers are going to be losing 26 seconds in the pit lane today, so hopefully we can see all these strategies paying off, and we get to have an emphatic finish to this race. But it's worth mentioning that these drivers on the softs, they're going to be a lot quicker at the beginning of the race, so expect the likes of Smith, Donoso and Clay to lose out to the soft runners.
Yeah, so Smith, the highest runner on the medium tyre at the minute in P5. Absolutely key that Tomek Paradzis, for his race, gets that move done off the line. You would expect it's a long enough run down into turn 1 for him to try and make that move. We'll see how it pans out. Quite a few of you guys getting your votes in on the poll, and it's very close to split between Longuet and Buneman. 32% of you think Nicholas Longuet, 34% of you think Barry Buneman, 24% think Ronha, and 11% believe it'll be someone else. Let's see how it pans out then as the drivers line up on the grid for what should be a cracker, round 10 of the season here in Portimao. It was meant to be round 11, but of course the Australian Grand Prix was cancelled last week. And we now are racing here tonight as the final few cars make their way into the grid slots. Nicholas Longuet is on the left-hand side. Barry Buneman is on the right as we keep an eye on the two drivers on the front row of the grid. Ron Har in behind, what can he do? Brendan Lee on debut from P4. What's he got up his sleeve as we get ready for the 5 red lights? They're coming on now. We've had to wait 2 weeks for some action in WR, but we are back and racing here in Portimao. Nicholas Longuet leads from pole position. It's a solid start and he will stay in front of Barry Buneman down into turn 1. Look at Ron Har. No, he won't stay in front. Barry Buneman sticks it up the inside, but just about. Longuet holds on. Buneman now has the inside lane as they make their way through turn 3. Longuet though, well now have the inside through 4 and will just about hold on. Meanwhile, Ron Har's got himself involved with Barry Buneman but can't quite get himself ahead as they make their way down into the braking zone for Tory Vip. Buneman on the inside of Longuet, can't quite get through. Brendan Lee now on the inside, and we've got a safety car because we've lost Miklavsic on this opening lap down at turn 4. Dan, did you see it?
There's been a big accident down at the rear of the field. Primoz Miklavcic being the major casualty in that he's out of this race, but Simon Perigny and Louis Welch without a front wing at the moment. Carter Lundy also had a spin at the first corner, and I'm seeing, oh dear, Tom Martinez as well without a front wing. Wow. I believe Andre Tarabukin might have sustained some damage, so a lot of drama at the rear of the field. 3 drivers without a front wing this early on. They're going to have a free pit stop from the safety car, so that does help them out indeed. But that puts this race really to a grinding halt early on here, and those 3, they've got a box.
A real mess there. Hopefully we can see that one on the social media accounts later on and see what happened there when we get a few views or from some of the Twitch channels of the drivers, but that's a disaster. So Martinez, Perigny and Welsh all without a front wing, is that correct? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Wow, that's a disaster for those drivers as they make their way back to the pits now for a change of tyre. Some of the other drivers who were on softs are changing too. Tomek Paradzis has come off the soft tyre and gone onto a set of the hards, as has Liam Parnell. Now, what about that strategy, Dan? That's interesting. He's going to the end of the race.
Yeah, I do believe that these tyres can make it to the end of the Grand Prix. and there's been a lot of split from the drivers in the box. Most of them have gone onto the hards. Tom Martinez has opted to go for the mediums. There's about a 5/10 difference in between the mediums and the hards in terms of raw pace. Whether that translates over to the driver's skill, we'll have to wait and see. But already the order being mixed up this early on in the race. It's always tasty to see the top 4 all decided to stay out. I believe it was Tomek, Piotr and Liam were the only drivers inside the top 10 that decided to blink and come into the pits.
Yeah, then very interesting then. So Tomek, Stachalik on the hard tyres. So let's see how that pans out for the 2 poles. Parnell, Warren as well. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting. There's a predicted pit stop strategy on your screen now. Soft to hard or medium to hard. Well, this is going to be interesting when the safety car is really throwing a curveball into this Grand Prix. We've got several drivers on hards going to the end, and several at the front did not blink and stayed out on their soft tyres. Will the track position be the choice, or will the hard tyre work out to be the best? Because surely the hard tyre runners are going to be struggling at the end of the race when the guys at the front pit for their mediums, or when the medium runners pit for their soft stand. It's going to be very interesting to see if they're going to be able to hold on.
Yeah, I mean, the tyre, the actual difference in the tyre life is not much at the moment for the softs and the hards. There's only a 1 lap difference, and I believe the deltas are around about just over a second between the softs and the hard. So they're going to have a tough time keeping up this early on when there's been very little to no wear at all on the leaders' soft tyres. And when you add that into the end of this race, of course, they're going to have track position. But there are a lot of opportunities on this circuit to overtake. You can go up the inside in towards Primera, and especially diving it in towards Torre Vips. So I wouldn't say that this is the most secure strategy in the world for the drivers that have opted for the hards, but it is certainly going to be interesting to see how it works out in comparison to those on front. And I always love it when we see 3 different compounds throughout the field, the softs, mediums and hards all being utilised at once.
Yep, it's always good to see plenty of mix-up in the order, and it gives us plenty of intrigue going into the race to see how things pan out. I'm really looking forward to seeing what is the correct strategy. My gut feeling is that being on the hards, it's just not going to work, I think, anyway. I mean, who am I to know? I just feel like come the end of the race, there could be a sitting duck. I could be completely wrong, but you never know, and that's what we love about these split strategies. So we're under safety car since the opening lap, after we had several cars piling up with Carter Lundy, Tom Martinez, Simon Perigny, Louis Welsh and Primoz Miklavsic all in the incident, but Miklavsic did not survive it, and that's the reason we've got the safety car. He's out of the race. The rest have pitted. Quite a few drivers actually have decided to choose the opportunity to pit, as you can see on your screens now. Half the field almost deciding to make that stop. But here we go then. We're about to get going after the safety car pulls in now, as Longuet now becomes the safety car, and he just holds them all up and just waits for the moment to drop the throttle and get this race back underway here in Portimao. And as we cut to the camera, and is he just going to wait and wait and wait? And I think he might have gone now. No, he's not. He's still waiting. Longuet leaving it very, very late before dropping the throttle. How much later is he going to leave it? He's surely going to go in a moment now. He's going right up to the safety car line, and finally he does bolt. And Barry Buneman has gone with him and is now right behind him, and might even fancy these chances into turn 1. He's right behind him going into the first corner, but he's not quite close enough to make the move. And Buneman tucks in behind at the start. And look at that from Ronhard. Down the inside he goes on Brendan Lee. That's very close between he and the 2-time esports world champion Brendan Lee. Got a fantastic exit out of turn 3, and he's now going side by side with him round the outside, going down the hill into Tony Vip. What a move that would be from Thomas Ronhard. Can't quite make it work, and then gets shoved wide by Lee as he's a massive oversteer moment coming out of the corner. But now Ronhard's got the inside line. He's got the high ground. He's got P3 from Brendan Lee. Great racing there, Dan.
Yeah, what a move in towards turn number 7. I don't think Brendan Lee really expected that from the Dutchman, but he's gone up the inside and onto the podium places now, which is very impressive indeed. As further back behind in 5th and 6th position, it seems like Luke Smith is trying to challenge to the rear of Fabrizio Donoso. Of course, Donoso, a former Alpine driver, and now Luke Smith, a part of that same academy. So these two following very similar career paths, and they're following in tandem currently at the moment, as they're going to complete lap number 5. No DRS, of course, until 2 laps after the safety car has pulled in. So if they want to make a move, it's got to be with raw power, as the fastest lap, understandably, comes out from Nicholas Longe. Trying to see who can make a move. I think Andrei Tarabukin is going to try and go up the inside in towards Premier of turn number 1, up the inside of Pedreno. He makes that move stick, and he gets ahead on his soft compounder tyre, which is still going to have the delta over the mediums. Nice and tidy for the Russian.
Yeah, nice stuff there from Tarabukin. He gets the job done, moves into P9, and up the order he goes. So good stuff from him. Solid start to his race here in WOR as Nicholas Longe pulls out to 6/10 on Barry Burman at the front. We've had 3 more pit stops on this lap. Lundy, Parnell and Baina have all come into the pits. Not sure if there was an incident or it's a part of a strategy. I don't know what's going on there, Dan. Don't know if anyone's seen it, but that's an interesting situation for those 3. But they've all come into the pits for the second time in this Grand Prix as Longe continues to lead by 7/10 of a second. He's looking to stretch that gap out, isn't he?
Yeah, just to know, I've checked the race director, and all 3 of those drivers who came into the pit lane had a front wing change, so there's got to be more contact further back behind, and that's really put their racers in firmly in the mud, I'd say. So those 3 not having a good time in Portugal. As Nicholas Longe, indeed, yeah, you touched on that. He is pulling away from Barry Boromand, but I think he might be in a spot of bother because DRS is going to be enabled. We're going to see the first taste of that down at the straight in towards Torre VIP corner, and Barry Boromand is going to have that advantage to utilise 2 DRS zones, of course, around this circuit. That's an early penalty for Jonah Martins.
Yeah, he's running really well up in 7th place, and I was on board with him when he done it because he was quite close to the back of Luke Smith going down the straight, but in the end, we've got another spinner. I think Stachulek's gone round, he has, and there's been more chaos at the rear of the field. Not sure who it was between, but he's gone round as we now go further up the field. Look at this, almost 3 wide into the braking zone. Look at that, that's brave from Peregni up the inside of Louis Welsh. Can't quite get it done, and he stays in 14th place, but it's getting a bit messy in the opening laps down at the rear of the field as Stachulek's race is also, in your words, in the mud, joining Carter, Lundy, Parnell and Baina and being detached from the field as Louis Welsh now tries to move on Dylan Warren. I think he was letting him go there actually, perhaps due to some action earlier on, as Perigny now goes through as well on Dylan Warren. So Warren going slowly, letting a couple of cars back through there by the looks of it, Dan.
Yeah, Dylan Warren not having the best time of it at the moment. All of these guys on the hards have been dropped by Tomek Paradzic, who is able to keep with the top runners, and this is going to put him in a great position later on in the race. They're going to be losing, if he can keep with these guys, they're going to be losing 26 seconds to him by the end of this race, and he can go to the end. There's not much tyre drop-off actually around this circuit, so the hards will still be in pretty good nick towards the end of the race. So Tomek Paradzic, especially on the hard tyres, he's going to be in a great position here, Andy. But at the sharp end of the order, I think Barry Burman might have an opportunity to go past Nicholas Longe. He's gaining in towards Torre VIP corner, and I think he's made intentions clear there that he does not want to overtake at this point. Yeah,
it would have been a bit of a risky move into Torre VIP, wouldn't it? Usually the esports guys or the drivers near the front of the field, they tried to just go for the breeze-by move down the start-finish straight at this early stage of the race. No need to be worrying about damaging your front wing or damaging your tyres. No need to take that risk. And in the end, Barry Burman backs out of that one. So interesting that Jarno Opmian in the chat believes that that Tomek has it in the bag, believes that's the way to go. I mean, what do I know? I initially thought no way, but he has much more knowledge than me, so I'm not going to argue with it. Let's see if he's absolutely spot on the money come the end of this Grand Prix as Longe continues to lead. As Barry Burman now with that DRS going to think about a move down this start finish straight. Still 6/10 off the rear of Nicholas Longe. Let's load up the telemetry and keep an eye on Barry Burman. He is using a little bit of that ERS, and he is now going to use the DRS as well, and the Iranian is going to try and breeze past Longe down the straight. See you later, he says, and he takes the lead on lap 8 here in Portimao of this Grand Prix. Round 10 of the season, we have a change of leadership. Barry Burman is through and into the lead of this Grand Prix, and Longe did not want to fight it one bit.
Nice and tidy from Barry Burman. I think Longe is going to enjoy a little bit of DRS and try and save some of his resources for the time being. It's in towards Torre VIP. No moves being made for these soft runners. At this point on lap number 8, I'd imagine that Donoso and Luke Smith are going to begin to have a slight pace advantage over the soft compound of tyre. Of course, 2 laps were added due to the safety car, so that's going to help those on the softs a little bit in this race. It means they can pit slightly later and have fresher tyres towards the end of this Grand Prix, but I'd imagine Donoso and Smith are going to be some of the quicker men on the circuit at the moment. Slightly further up though, Andy, Thomas Ronhaar looks like he is closing to the rear of Nicholas Longe. It's going to be difficult to make the move down the DRS straight, given that they're both benefiting from the luxury, which sort of cancels out the advantage that it takes. But in towards Galp corner they go. Surely the Aston Martin, he could try and have an opportunity here.
He could. No sign of him using his ERS at the minute. He will have the DRS, and he's just going to sit in behind Nicholas Longe at the minute as Barry Burman sets a new fastest lap of the race. 1 minute 18.444 from him. But let's have a chat about this man, Thomas Ronhaar. You said before the race, Dan, you've been keeping an eye on him in practice, and he looked very strong. And I tell you what you saw in practice has been backed up as we got a yellow flag, and that's because Stachulek has bailed out, and he's had enough of this Grand Prix. He retires on lap number 9. But let's talk about Ronhaar. Looks like he could be a real threat this afternoon for the victory, couldn't he? Going back to back, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if Barry and Longe, they have some issues together. I believe all of these guys, by the way, are on a call at the moment. That's what the talk is in the live chat at the moment. But hopefully that doesn't affect the battles we could potentially see, because Ronhaar has certainly got great pace at the moment in behind the two leaders, sort of staples in F1 esports at the moment. If I recall correctly, Barry Burman was a part of the 2020 season for Mercedes, but I don't recall him racing all that often. He was certainly a staple for McLaren. And of course, Longe's been a part of the Renault and Alpine scheme for quite some time. Ronhaar new on the scene, getting to mix it in with all of these veterans. As off the exit of Galp corner, he doesn't look like he's using any of his battery, so he's not going to go for the move this time by, but certainly he's an ever-lurking presence.
Yep, just sitting there happy at the minute, keeping that battery saved. Let's have a look at those battery amounts. 60% for him, 36 for Nicholas Longe. Goodness me, much lower than I'd expect. Barry Burman around 56 as well at the minute. So let's go down the order. Let's have a little look as it's a bit of a stalemate here. And keep an eye on the man in P11, Tomek Paragis, on the hard tyres. At the minute, could be on for a very strong result. Let's change the gap as well to gap to the leader. Only 6 seconds off the lead of this race as well. At the minute, going to plan for him, and the drivers behind are going to have to chase once they make their pit stop. The drivers in front, when they stop, are going to have a real chase in their hands to catch this man. 6 seconds off the lead. They've all got to stop yet. So is this beginning to take shape nicely for Tomek Paragis? And there's also potential that some of the drivers in front would need to pass Louis Welsh and Simon Perigny to get to Tomek Paragis as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tomek is in a great position. He's just going to be hoping that there isn't another safety car that comes out. That is really going to ruin his race. It's going to essentially give everyone a free pit stop, and he's going to be a sitting duck if he stays on the hard compound tyre. So he's just going to be hoping that everyone can keep it clean and not cause a safety car. But he's doing pretty well for himself at the moment. He's improving on his lap times at the moment. So those hards, after 8 laps now, are not showing any signs of wear. They're probably in their prime position at the moment, as Andrew Tarabukin is being overtaken by Reuben Pedreno. Something's happened there to the Ferrari car, because he's gone so much slower into the braking zone. And it looked like he just conceded the position to Reuben Pedreno. Possibly Paragis could actually go for the move in towards Torre Vip, and that seems like his intention, because he's closing in towards the braking zone. He dives up the inside line. The Mercedes car goes. It's Mercedes against Ferrari. They come close to contact. Off the circuit goes the Ferrari car, and they're going to run wheel to wheel now through turns 7 and 8. Through Samsung corner they go, around the outside. Goes Paragis there. He secures the move on Andrei Tarabukin, who I think is feeling his tyres at the moment.
Yeah, I think he is, and I don't think he wanted any contact with Paragis either, and almost wilted and jumped out of that one come the time they got down the hill to turn 7, and Paragis then gets himself into the top 10. I think he felt those guys were beginning to scrap a bit and slow him down, and he didn't want to hang around anymore, and got the job done and moves himself into P10. So good move there for Tomek Paragis, moves himself back up the order and into contention. Let's move the gap to the leader back to the traditional interval gap, as we've got a move pardon me, we've got a pit stop from Jonas Martins. That's what we've got, the man with the time penalty, and he's going to change himself onto a brand new set of the medium tyre. So the traditional strategy going on there for Jonas Martins. Let's see where he rejoins the action. It will be 13th. There's such a gap back to the bottom half of the order, who've all been involved in a lot of contact in this Grand Prix. Let's go back to the front then and pick up Thomas Ronhaar. As you can see, Brendan Leach close right back onto the tail of these guys, and the medium runners are also homing in as the soft runners begin to struggle down. It looks like the mediums are now the quicker tyre.
Yeah, Absolutely, and that's a bit of an early pit stop, I'd say, from Jonah Martins. But he's decided to box for the medium. He's going to get an undercut on his rivals in front of him. We'll see where that inserts him in the battle with Brendan Lee and Thomas Ronhaar, I'd imagine, are going to be his two main rivals here. And that could actually spark some activity down at the pit lane for some of the other runners, as Ronhaar looks like he's pushing at the moment. He's only 3/10 to the tail of Nicolas Longuet. We'll see what the Dutchman can do. Winner of the Mexican Grand Prix, utilizing some of his battery in towards Galp corner. So he's trying to go for this move, I'd say. As any of these guys are going to peel off into the pits, it does not seem like it. So they're going to keep the battles on circuit, as here comes Thomas Ronhaar. I don't think he's going to be close enough to go for the move in towards Primera, though.
Yeah, plenty of battery in his pocket, Thomas Ronhaar, just waiting for that opportune moment to get attacking. Certainly looks like he's got some great pace out there, no doubt about that. As Andre Tanabukin is making his stop now, getting off the soft tyre and onto a set of the mediums too, as we continue to watch this action here tonight in WOR around this Portuguese circuit. Oh, Ronhaar clipping the back of Longuet at the bottom of Torrey Vip there, and that could have been wing damage. He gets away with it though, but a little bit of a sign of impatience maybe from the youngster, who's looking very strong there, the Dutchman, very, very quick, and maybe wants to get on with the pace a little bit now, as these guys are all now being reeled in by the hard tyre runners. Brendan Lee also right up behind Ronhaar on his WR debut too. Any one of these four could be the victor today, but the man in the strongest position is this man, P9, pitted under the safety car. Tomek Paradzis, gap to leader, 6.8, still well within range of the pit stop, and he'll be being reeled in at the end, but will he be reeled in quickly enough? That's the big question at the minute. It's all going to plan for the Polish driver and Challenger Series winner, looking very, very strong, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine these soft runners in front are going to want to work together. They don't want to be fighting at this point in time. Thomas Ronhaar might have some other ideas in towards turn number one. He gets close to the rear of Longuet, but no moves being made. If they start battling, this is surely just going to help Tomek Paradzis out. As, oh dear, a penalty for Reuben Pedreno in 8th position. Not going to help his race by the end of it. As in towards Torrey Vip, all the leaders go. No moves being made, so yeah, they're wanting to try work together here to counteract the alternate strategy from Tomek Paradzis, which seemingly is working. An absolute treat for him, but I'd imagine he does want to clear Reuben Pedreno eventually.
A lot of concern for the likes of Buriman, Longuet, Ronhaar and Lee that the medium runners are still right in their wheel tracks. That would really concern them. I mean, Paradzis is a concern on its own, but the fact that the medium runners are right there as well means that there's every opportunity that they could be sitting ducks in the second stint of this Grand Prix. But given the power of the DRS train, that might come to the rescue, but that will not be pleasing for them, that these medium runners are right there at this stage of the Grand Prix. They don't have that cushion that they'd maybe like to have, but they are stretching this stint out quite a bit, as Ronhaar is right behind Longuet, and I wouldn't be surprised if he fancies it. No, he fancies a pit stop. Undercut from Thomas Ronhaar then to try and get ahead of Buriman and Longuet, leaving it very, very late to call for the pit stop there. This could be a key moment in this Grand Prix for the young Dutchman, going for back-to-back victories here in WR, Dan.
Yep, onto a set of the medium compound of tyre, and he's going to be well clear of Jonah Martins, but he is behind quite some margin actually by Louis Welch and Simon Perigny, so he is going to have to catch these guys later on in this race and overtake them. I'd say those two are also in a very strong position for a potential podium at the end of this race. Ronhaar's got a bunch of clear air, 12 seconds to be exact, and we'll see how his undercut works out on Barry and Longuet. I'd imagine that's going to spark activity for all three of the leaders, because they don't want to be undercut by a direct rival in Thomas Ronhaar. As through the third sector they come now. It's the McLaren, the Alfa Romeo and the Ferrari. Up towards Sagre they go. They've not been able to drop the medium runners, which is a big concern as well, because they're going to have the quicker tyres at the end of this race, and the fresher tyres, mind that as well. As here they go, I'd imagine Barry peeling off to the right, as is Longuet. Brendan Lee continues, Andy.
Yeah, well, Brendan Lee needs to watch here, because while he's extending the gap, he's probably going to beat the back of the train still, but the problem is he might need to worry about Jonah Martins. That could be an issue for Brendan Lee. We'll wait and see how that works out. But here it is, Longuet into the box now. Barry Buriman's already, I believe, on his way down the pit lane. Here he is. and he will retain the spot over him. But where is Thomas Ronhaar? That's the question. Here he is coming down the start-finish straight now. It's going to be close. He'll look to his right-hand side, and he'll see that papaya orange of Barry Burman retaining the position. But here he's up to speed as Ronhaar. Will he dive down the inside? Barry Burman covers that inside line, and he stays ahead of Ronhaar for now. But the tyres are up to temperature on that Aston Martin, and he might right now fancy the opportunity to make the move. Opens up the DRS. No ERS though, and that suggests to me he won't go for it, and he doesn't, and he stays behind Barry Burman for now. So the chase begins on Tomek Perazis for these drivers to the end of the Grand Prix. We're just getting up to half race distance now. Will they get to Tomek Perazis? That's the question. The gap around 16 seconds or so. Let's have a look at it. Barry Burman 22.7 off the lead. Perazis 6.7 off the lead. So do the maths. That is 16 seconds between Perazis and Barry Burman. Will they catch him before the end of the race? That's the big question. As Brendan Lee makes his stop, will he be ahead or behind Jonah Martins? That's the big question. That could ruin his race.
Yeah, Jonah Martin's been able to close ever so slightly to the leaders in front of him with the pit stop phase, undercutting by just a few laps as Brendan Lee boxes on to a set of the medium tyre, and now he's coming out of the pit lane now. 26-second loss through here. Barry Burman is going to cruise on by, as is Ronhaar and Longe, but it's going to be close between the pair of them, as actually Brendan Lee has been able to overcut Longe.
Wow.
Never mind that, as around the outside and almost off the circuit there for Nicholas Longe. He just manages to pit Brendan Lee, but that was a heart-in-mouth moment. We saw that similarly last lap between Ronhaar and Burman, as Ikabayanya out of this race.
Yeah, was worrying about a safety car there potentially for Perazis, but thankfully it was retired in the pit, so no such worry then as these two guys continue. But you know, they will be wanting to close into Tomek Perazis, but their worry will be, what about these medium runners that are still going? Are they going to be a thorn in the side as they all try to catch Perazis? Will the medium runners that are going to go to softs be a problem in their chase of Perazis? Is this looking good for the pole? We've got a yellow flag because Baina's car has rejoined the racetrack, I believe, down at turn 1, which is not a good thing. But Donoso at the minute in the lead of this race with Luke Smith right behind him. These medium runners are going to be key to this race as well.
Yeah, I'd imagine they're going to be coming into the pits maybe in about 4 or 5 laps time. I'd say around about lap 22, 23 is going to be their pit window. They're going to box onto the softs. Barry Burman finding pace though on his set of the medium compound of tyre, and they are closing to the rear of Perigny and Welsh at a rate of knots. Really, they're only 8.8 seconds off of the pair of them, so you could suggest that they are going to overtake them by the end of this race. But Tomek still in a fantastic position, 5 seconds clear of Louis Welch at the moment. That's going to be 13 seconds separating Burman and Perazis at the moment. So still, Andy, at this point in time, Tomek has got to be the favourite.
Well, there's 15 seconds between Perazis and Burman at the minute, so it's a second a lap that they're going to need to take out of Tomek Perazis to catch him. That is a tall, tall order, but remember, he'll be on those hard tyres for almost the entire race, so the delta might get a little bit better for these guys on the medium runners come that stage of the Grand Prix. We'll see if they can catch him, and if it is a second at this minute, or it will be more than a second later on in the Grand Prix. But at the minute, Perazis still in a relatively strong position as Pedreno pits. He's the first of the medium runners to blink and go on to a set of softs. So let's see where he rejoins, and could these medium runners going on to softs be a thorn in the side of the current chasing pack on Tomek Perazis? We'll have to wait and see. At the minute, I would still say Perazis is looking like the best man to win the race as Barry Burman pumps in yet another fastest lap as he continues his pursuit of Perigny, Welsh and Perazis.
Yeah, these guys really are pushing at the moment. Barry has only got 45% left in the battery, so he really is pushing hard. He wants to secure this win today, and he's pulling along Ronhaar, Longe and Lee along with him. They've sort of dropped off Jonah Martins by about 2 seconds in these last few laps, so I wouldn't say that he is a threat. Neither is Tarabucan. They've got to worry probably about Pedreno in behind them, so a lot of unfolding storylines here in this race, Andy. It's very exciting to watch. I'm expecting still in the next 2 to 3 laps, Donoso, Smith and Clay, they've got to box eventually.
Yeah, they will be boxing pretty soon. Barry Burman then, let's have a quick update. Now down to 14 seconds, so he is roughly taking around a second a lap out at the minute, which is what he needs to do, as Smith and Donoso have pitted. Shinaka Clay goes for another lap, so he'll be the last of the runners to pit in this Grand Prix. So he's going long as Smith and Donoso come into the pit lane now. Let's see where they rejoin in relation to the likes of Lee, Longate, Ronhar and Brunemand. It will be behind, but how many seconds behind? Because we know they could be a threat to that group of cars towards the end as they try to catch Paradis. But here is Paradis at the minute on his own, 5 seconds off Clay, and with a good healthy lead over Brunemand, who's his nearest threat, of around 13 seconds. But the gap is coming down.
Yeah, and crucially for the two soft runners who have just emerged from the pit lane, they've come out ahead of Jonah Martins, about 3.3 seconds to the rear of the train of Barry Burmand, bit that is leading them, and Brendan Lee at the tail of that train. They're going to have the clear air to close. It's about 5/10 the deltas between the mediums and the softs in the favour of the soft compound tyre. So you would say that these guys are going to be catching very, very soon. But of course, Andy, it is one thing to catch a car, it's another thing to overtake.
For me, it's great news for Paradis. It's really good news for Paradis that Donoso and Smith are this close to this group, because they could really disturb this group and slow them down in their hunt of the hard runner of Tomic Paradis, because Donoso and Smith will be on their case very, very soon. Will they be able to overtake in a DRS train is another question, as Paradis now takes the lead of the race, as we suspected he would, as Clay pits. So it is Paradis leading from Louis Welsh in second, Sammy Perigny now third. Clay leaves the box. Where will he rejoin? You would think in around Donoso and Smith. Will it be ahead or behind? We'll find out right now as he makes his way out the pits, and he's got it done. He's ahead, I think. It's going to be really close. Oh, dearie me. Cut off, sliced off by Donoso, and into turn one. It is a pinch point. Round goes Clay. Race ruined for one of the championship contenders as he and Donoso joined lines and connected at the first corner. Wow.
He was having a great race as well, Shanaka, and he's got to be really upset about that one there. He feel pretty hard done by Fabrizio, and we could see that in the steward's room, but yeah, Shanaka's not going to be best pleased about it. He still could possibly secure some points in this race if he's able to overtake Martins, Pedreno and Tarabukin, but I'd say he's going to be pretty down about that one. He's just got to get his head down and keep on trucking here.
Yeah, a real sickener for Shinaka Clay in the Williams. Interesting to see what the stewards think of that. It did look like it was an almighty chop from the Chilean into turn one, and in the end Clay had nowhere to go, and he was sent spinning like a top at the first corner and out of contention in this Grand Prix. Brendan Lee then on board with him on his WOR debut, running in, well, it would be a net P4, but it isn't. It is P7 because of the number of pit stops. Paradis and Welsh and Perigny all pitted under that early safety car and onto the hard. So these guys will have to overtake them. They are not stopping again. So it would be net P4, but it isn't. It is P7 on the road, and that is genuine. And he's got Donoso and Luke Smith on soft tyres hunting him down. So it's really beginning to take shape now with 11 laps to go. 2/3 race distance here in Portimao. No idea who's going to come out on top, but at the minute it is Paradis still in the lead as things stand, with Barry Bruneman, Ron Hart and Longy beginning the hunt of those hard tyre runners, and they're beginning to close, but are they closing quickly enough, Dan? That's the question.
I'm not too sure, if I'm completely honest with you. I think they are closing enough to Simon Perigny, but they're still 6.5 seconds off the rear of Louis Welch. That's not going to help Perigny's case. He's just picked up a 3-second time penalty for 3 track extension warnings, and that's resulted in him being only now 3/10 theoretically off of ahead of Barry Burman and the rest of the train. So not good for his race. But Barry Burman, yeah, I'd say maximum position he's getting here is second. If Tomic keeps it where he is at the moment, he's going to repeat what he did in Challengers and absolutely dominate this race.
Well, it's an 11.2 second gap with 10 laps to go, so it's now more than a second that Barry Burman needs. And not only that, he's got Thomas Ronhart right on his tail for company, looking to frustrate and annoy him and take some time out of him, and that is not good news for him, as Ronhart getting a little bit impatient, opening up the DRS, getting ever closer. But is he going to be close enough for the move? Nope, he won't even think about the move going into the braking zone as Barry Burman continues to chip away at that lead, and it's now under 11 seconds. Will they get there in time? Go on, tell us in the chat, folks, who's going to win this race? Has Paradis got it under control? Will the tyres hit the cliff? And will the medium runners get there before the end? What do we think, folks? Tell us in the chat as we got a yellow flag because Tom Martinez has had an off down at turns 1 and 2, but he is back going again, and that will not be a safety car, and Parazis can take his heart back out of his mouth.
Yeah, I think Tom, he's just managed to keep it out of the walls, so he is okay. I'm seeing a lot of support for Tomek at the moment. I think people are thinking this is the end game for him. He's just got to bring it home. He's just crossed the line to start lap number 24, so that means 10 laps left in this race. The gap at the moment between himself and Barry Burman is 10.5 seconds, so they just have to close by over a second a lap as Ronhar, it moves ahead of Barry Burman. He takes 4th position off of the Iranian driver, and I think that might be tactical for these guys.
Sorry, Dan. Brendan Lee diving up the inside out of nowhere there on Nicholas Longuet. They're going side by side, and Longuet's round. Into a spin goes the Frenchman, the championship leader, in a spin. And that could be massive in the way this championship goes, because Parazis is leading the race and could be taking some serious points out of him. Longuet and Brendan Lee come together. Round goes the Frenchman, and that could be absolutely massive in this championship fight, Dan. Incredible.
Now he's down to 11th position, and oh dear, it has really unfolded for Nicholas Longuet. Starting this race on pole position, it was really over from the start when Tomek came into the pit lane at the safety car, and now it's just been, his troubles have been added to. He's not even scoring points at this point in this race, so he's not going to be extending his championship lead at all to Alvaro Carraton, who I did see was actually in the live chat earlier on in this race, so maybe he's given himself a little bit of a fist pump here because he knows that he's not going to be losing out too much in this fight. As interestingly enough, Andy, Perigny's coming to the box. Wow,
has he given up now? What does that say about this strategy? What does it say about the strategy? Does he think they're struggling to get to the end? What does that say about Parazis' strategy? Is that a sign, people? Is that a sign, folks, that maybe it isn't going to work? Well, 8 laps to go. The gap's now down to 9.1, and Parazis could be under a bit of pressure here before the end of this Grand Prix. Interestingly as well, Ronhar 7 tenths ahead of Barry Burman. Is he beginning to stretch away? Maybe he is.
I think Thomas is using a bit of his battery here. I mean, when he overtook Barry Burman, he had about 40%, and he was just down to 30 there. So I'd say he is beginning to push, starting to feel the pressure that he's not going to be taking the win of this Grand Prix unless he does something about Tomek, but he's almost untouchable in the position at the moment he is. So I'd say they're not gaining enough. Thomas knows this, he knows this, and he's trying as hard as he can, possibly just trying to do damage limitation as well by overtaking Louis. That is still an attainable goal for them, but even so, they're still about 4 seconds off the rear of the AlphaTauri, and they're not gaining by much at this point.
Yeah, well, a big shout out to the pad man. What a job he's doing. Louis Welsh looking to secure an unlikely podium here on the pad, defying all odds, and he's made the strategy work well. Let's see if he can get that podium. It's working well for him at the minute as the laps tick by. Just, Dan, if you don't mind, could you look at race director, tell us the last lap from Parazis and the last lap from Ronhar, and give us an idea, give the viewers an idea of how much he's closing by and if it's going to be possible.
Absolutely. So from lap number 25, Tomek Parazis did a 1 minute 18.789, and then Thomas Ronhar did a 1 minute 17.9. So there is a certain gain from Thomas coming out here. It's about just under a second, but I don't think it'd be enough at this point.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't look like it's going to be enough. The gap might get down to around 1.5 to 2 seconds, maybe a little less than that. It's, as you said earlier on in the broadcast, it's one thing getting there, it's another thing overtaking. Will it be a case he gets into the DRS on the final lap? He needs to find a lot more time. What can Ronhar do? He's really starting to put the boot down though, and are we going to start seeing some fastest laps of the Grand Prix from Ronhar? He now dips under 8 seconds. And is he now beginning to believe that he can get there before the end of the race? The other problem Ronhar has is he'll lose time passing Louis Welsh if he gets him at the wrong part of the racetrack. So these are all factors that favour the race leader, this man, Tomek Parazis, as Barry Burman gets closer to Ronhar into turn 1, but not quite close enough to make a move. It's all beginning to take shape here tonight in Portugal, in WOR, but at the minute Ronhar doesn't have any answers to Parazis out front. He's doing all he needs to do.
Yeah, I mean, Parazis really has nailed the strategy. I think all these other drivers when the safety car came out that didn't pit, I think they're going to be kicking themselves that they didn't opt for this strategy. But even so, as Liam Parnell retires in the pit lane, even so, it's not a guarantee. Oh no.
Well, that's definitely game over now for Thomas Ronhaar in terms of the victory, and probably Barry Boonemand as well. So that's a big disaster there for Ronhaar, and his chances of making it back-to-back victories have gone up in flames with that penalty. Disaster for him, and now Barry Boonemand will know about this, and he'll be looking to get back in front and begin the chase of Parages. But I think all hope is lost. It's looking really strong for the man in the lead of this race, the man that won the Challenger Series, one of the strongest drivers out there at the minute, really on the rise in the world of esports, looking strong and looking like taking the victory and cutting the championship gap to Nicholas Longy, who's only 9th at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicholas Longy, at least he's able to secure some points in this race. He's been able to overtake Tara Buchan and Jonah Martins to find himself in the top 10, and of course Simon Perrine coming into the pit lane has helped him out as well. But he's going to be so down about this, considering how strong he was when we saw him in qualifying, topping Q3 by a good margin, and it's all completely unraveled for him, and now he's just leading a train down in 9th position. He's miles off the back of Reuben Pedreno and Luke Smith as well, so it's just not gone his way today, and I do feel for him. I've also seen in the live chat that he's very displeased with the conduct of Brendan Lee and how their battle ended out. So I'd imagine that the stewards, Andy, are going to be pretty busy today.
Yeah, they're going to be pretty busy, no doubt about that. Now, the big question is less about whether Parages can win this race and more about whether Louis Welsh can hold on to that podium. He's been doing a fairly decent job of standing up to this charge coming from Ronhaar and Boonemand, and the fact that Ronhaar's got the penalty as well will please him even more. Can Louis Welsh make this work? Can he get the second place, Dan? Every chance he might. Going to be a tall order. And look at the battery, he's got nothing left. 3% for Louis Welsh. If they get there, he's in big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. At this moment in time, Thomas Ronhaar has a gap. I've just turned off my leaderboards there. He's got a gap of 2.5 seconds to make up in these last few laps. I still don't think he's gaining by enough to overtake him. But if he does end up catching him, or if Louis does make a mistake, and he has made some, I have noticed from him around this circuit, he's had some issues today, especially in qualifying. Of course, he's been pretty consistent in race trim, but if the pressure gets to him and he loses the car at some point, Thomas is going to be all over the back of him. Even if he doesn't keep the position, these drivers still want to go for the honour route. And don't forget as well, Thomas Ronhaar could still get this penalty removed.
Yep, absolutely. You're absolutely right. He could still get that removed as the laps tick by here in Portimao. A few laps to go now. Parages just 4 more as he comes around the final corner now, and it's ticking by and it's looking very strong for him. Louis Welsh 2 seconds the gap now to Ronhaar, and Ronhaar trying everything he can to get within range, but he's not closing quickly enough. Those hard tyres are working very well for Parages and Welsh. I wonder what the condition of the hard tyres are. I wonder what percentage they would be, but I'm sure they won't be anywhere near puncture territory. I'm sure things are all under control, under the visor of the young Polish driver in the lead of this Grand Prix, and on course for victory and on course to slice the gap in the championship. It was 28 points, I believe, going into this. It's going to be a hell of a lot less after this Grand Prix. He's going to be right within range of his title rival, Nicholas Longy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tomac Parages today, he's sown the seeds very early on in this race when he was able to keep with the runners in front of him that were on the second quicker per lap soft tyres. He was able to stay with them for as long as he could, and he's done a superb job in this race, and he's reaping the rewards now. He's coming up to 3 to go in this race. Meanwhile, Thomas Ronhaar is still closing to Louis Welch, and he's about to dip in towards DRS range, so on track he still could have an overtake, and he might push him back the way of Barry Boorman and Brendan Lee as well. So Louis Welch, that podium's not secure.
Yep, secure the podium as well be the aim. He's not done it yet though. You're absolutely right, as Ronhaar begins to get within range. No DRS yet for him. He will feel on the next lap he will get it. The question is, how will Louis Welch approach it? Will he let Ronhaar go because of the penalty and hope to try and stay ahead of Barry Boorman? It's going to be a tough one to try and judge for the pad man, but he's going to have to try and figure out the best strategy to secure that second place. What a result it would be for him. I really do hope he gets it. Not supposed to be biased in the commentary box, but big fan of Louis Welsh on the pad, upstaging some of the drivers on the wheel. And you know, it just shows, I say it every week, it shows that you can compete at this level with what some would say is inferior equipment. And he just makes it work, and he is the pad man. And he's on the podium again. And I tell you what, it's difficult to argue that he could be one of the drivers of the day. Don't be far away, folks, from finding out who the driver of the day is. Me and Dan will be discussing that pretty soon. And I'm sure you guys in the chat will want to discuss the driver of the day soon. But it's hard to see past Paradis, and especially Louis Welsh, if he can get the podium from here, especially given where he started on the grid. Outside the top 15, he was eliminated in the first part of qualifying, wasn't he?
Yeah, he started 17th in this race, and he could be on track for a podium position. These AlphaTauris really do love chargers through the field. Of course, we saw Sam Corby earlier this season in both Belgium and Bahrain. He came up through the order and was able to take positions and get on the podium, as I think Luke Smith has just gone up the inside of Fabrizio Donoso into the first corner there. So that is 6th position secured for the Alfa Romeo. Of course, working wonders in the constructors standings. That's a very impressive move, but Donoso could be coming back at him in towards Torre Vips. He's going to go the long way round into the braking zone. Luke Smith does well to cover off the inside line. Is it going to be the good exit, the switchback? Possibly for Donoso, not quite, but it was close there.
Very, very close indeed. Good racing between the pair, but in the end, Smith gets the upper hand on Fabrizio Donoso and takes 6th place away from him. Louis Welsh, by the way, what a job he's doing here, keeping the gap just around that second. He did enough on the last lap to avoid the DRS, and that could be key here to stopping the overtake from Ron Hart on the track. So 1 lap to go at the end of this one. Paradis is coming around the final couple of corners now to start that final lap right now. But it's all about this fight for the final podium spot. Let's get the telemetry up. Only 10% for Ron Hart. Louis Welsh hasn't got much to defend with either. Not much to attack with for Ron Hart. It's like they've got no ERS at all to play with. And Louis Welsh looks to me like he's going to fend him off. What a job this is from the AlphaTauri driver. And he still will stay ahead as they go through that first DRS zone. Ron Hart getting frustrated, almost shoving Louis Welsh through the corner. Whatever you do, don't send them spinning. Please don't do that. As they now go up the hill through 4 and down the hill. Louis Welsh still fending off Ron Hart at the minute, who goes for the dummy, can't get through, and you feel that might be his last realistic overtaking opportunity to get through on the AlphaTauri man. Ron Hart trying everything he can to take it from him, but at the minute Louis Welsh is standing strong, and he knows Ron Hart has the penalty, and at the minute is doing everything he needs to do to ensure a brilliant 2nd place for the pad man, flying the flag for everyone on the controller. Here comes Ron Hart, steaming up the inside, gets it done. Brilliant move that from Thomas Ron Hart, as Barry Puramat now is sniffing, ready to claim any of the crumbs from the battle. Not quite able to do so. Louis Welsh holding on, and Ron Hart with that penalty surely means that Louis Welsh will come home in 2nd place. But look at Barry Puramat, gets his way through, but Louis Welsh fights hard. Here comes Paradis. We'll need to watch him cross the line. Tomek Paradis wins in Portugal, but who's going to get the podium? It's going to be oh so close to the line. Welsh will get 2nd. No, he won't. Barry Puramat gets it by 0.04 of a second. He's 2nd, Welsh is 3rd, Lee is 4th, and Thomas Ron Hart is 5th. What a finish to the Grand Prix that was, from 2nd down to 5th, Dan.
Yeah, what an end to that race. But it was Tomek Paradis miles clear of everyone else with the superior strategy choice. But I think we've got to give the credit to Louis Welsh there. I'm not too sure. I think, yeah, no, we're getting confirmation. I did notice that Louis was ahead on circuit from Barry, but we've got confirmation from the official WR YouTube that is 2nd position for Louis Welch, and that just proves you don't need, Andy's already said this, I'm gonna say it again, you don't need a £1,000 rig. All you just need is a 50 quid controller and the passion to succeed, and you can be like Louis Welch. What a performance from him. And even though Tomek made the most of the strategy, I think, Andy, we've got to give the Padman the driver of the day.
Yeah, we have to fly the flag he does for the controller guys, and that's a very, very, very satisfying podium for him, and very satisfying for me in commentary. I'm very pleased about that. Good to see that you can race on the pad, and there you go, the game even agrees with us. Louis Welsh, driver of the day. Let us know in the chats, folks, who you think your driver of the day is. You might agree, you might disagree. That's the whole fun about it. We're all allowed differing opinions. But here is one of the contenders for that driver of the day, the race winner, and a man that sliced the championship lead of Nicholas Longy, who had a nightmare today after the spin with Brendan Lee. Tomek Paragis, top step of the podium, the victor here in Portimao today. He wins in style. Louis Welsh second, Barry Burman third. What a fantastic race here tonight in Portugal. And it was the victory for Tomek Paragis. It does show Barry Burman second, but that was an error. Visually, it showed Louis Welsh crossing the line first. So there's the full results from the Portuguese Grand Prix. Tomek Paragis first, Louis Welsh second, Barry Burman third, Brendan Lee P4, Thomas Ronhar P5, 6th for Luke Smith, 7th for Fabrizio Donoso. The recovery for Longy, he salvaged 4 points in 8th, Shinaka Clay 9th, and Reuben Pedreno was 10th. Andrei Tarbukin, agonisingly for him, didn't quite get into the points. Simon Perigny was 12th, and Yona Martins was 13th. Tom Martinez was next, Dylan Warren after that. Lundy, Parnell, Baena, Stachulek and Miklavsic, they all failed to see the checkered flag. But Dan, what a fantastic Grand Prix that was. Really enjoyed it. Well done to Tomek Paragis. And suddenly we've got a really exciting championship battle on our hands between he and Nicholas Longy.
Absolutely. Tomek did a brilliant job today, continuing the trend of Mercedes drivers winning at Portimao, both in Formula 1 and in WOR as well. It was a very, very strong performance from him today, and he's going to be securing, I believe, 25. I don't think he got the fastest lap. I think that went the way of Pedreno, or maybe Simon Perigny, if I'm not mistaken. But a full 25 points for Tomek is going to put him in a great position in this championship hunt. And you've also got to consider that he's missed 4 races this season, I do believe, due to challenges and practice for that series. But to be in a title fight when you've done, what I think it's 3 less races than your main rival, that is something special.
Yeah, it's great going. It just shows how much of a big talent he is coming up. He's going to be one for the future, no doubt about that. Tomek Paragis, Polish driver, very, very strong. A superb victory today, superb strategy, called it right. Jarno popped into the chat and said it, and he was absolutely right. The man that knows more than anyone about the game and the strategy, he got it on the money, and he knew pretty early on that it was the right strategy to go for, and that's off to Paragis. He got it spot on as well. Really exciting race, but Louis Welsh without doubt the star of the show. Dan, was there anyone else that, pardon me, caught your eye out there?
I think Thomas Ronhard today was very strong.
Yeah.
Of course, he had that penalty. He can get that removed if he does decide to report one of those warnings, because the game is known to sometimes give some unfair penalties to the drivers. But I do think he was a very impressive contender today. Of course, strategy didn't work out in his favour, but he also had the opportunity to pit like Tomek did. So I would still say he had a very good race today.
Yeah, just spot on. He did have a very, very good race today. You called it before the start of the race, Dan. You said you'd been watching him in practice, and he looked very, very strong. And what you said was well backed up. He looked like he had the pace on Barry Burman at times. He looked like he could have been a challenger for the victory had it not been for that early safety car. And yeah, he was another very strong contender, showing that he's going to be a contender in years to come, backing up after that victory a couple of weeks ago in Mexico. So yeah, another very strong driver, but no doubt about it, for me, my driver of the day is Louis Welsh. I think you're agreeing with me on that one. So yeah, fantastic race. I'm just having a look to see if anyone is jumping in for our folks. I don't think we've got anyone just yet. I'm going to have a little look and see. No sign of it at the minute, so I think we're going to have to wrap it up very, very soon. But Dan, it has been an exciting Grand Prix, the championship really taking shape. I think we head to Melbourne next. Am I right in saying that? I might be wrong. I think we do.
We're going to Saudi Arabia.
Oh, what
next.
do I know? What do I know? So we head to Saudi Arabia next, folks. So be sure to join us. I hope you've enjoyed the stream, folks. If you have enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like on the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel to be sure to catch these races every single Sunday night at 7 p.m. Be sure to join in and crack on. But before we go, just a quick reminder of one of our sponsors, Red Rival. Racing has never been this fun. Be sure to check that link below to join our league. Join World Online Racing League today. No spaces, as you can see on the screen below. And get yourselves involved and make the racing a little bit more exciting, a little bit more enjoyable, more engaging, more social through a fantasy app. Search for World Online Racing on the Grid Rival app. Compete against the community with a £25 prize pot. And for every 50 members that join, we'll add another £25 to the prize pool. And who knows, you could be the winner if you get your fantasy team on the money. That's all from myself, Ginger Andy, and Dan Field tonight. It was Tomek Paradzis that reigned supreme in Portugal. He cuts the lead in the championship battle after Longy had a nightmare. Be sure to join us next time as we head to Jeddah for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Goodbye.
On his debut, Jarno Uppbeat wins at Spa.
It's Martinez in Montreal. David beats Goliath.
It's a true underdog story. John Evans wins at Mexico.
And it's Super Sam Corby who takes the PlayStation Championship.
FRA Ronhard takes his first WOR Championship. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jake Benham is a two-time WOR champion.
Uppbeat around the outside operated line. Shadow is contact again. Rodha is around.
Melanie, surely is going to win here at Abu Dhabi. He does.
16 races across 5 continents. From Brazil to Belgium and Bahrain to Britain. Soon this story starts. Across 3 platforms, hundreds will begin the quest. The quest in search of glory and the right to be called a WOR champion. Lights out, and we're racing in Season 12.